along, everyone. 2023 big jump off. Dave Orton back in the chair with a stellar, legendary panel coming your way in association with Bet365. Here we go, Jumps fans. The season is upon us. Champions Day is done on the flat. We can start looking forward to the winter game. We've got some incredible features coming up for you. We're going to have a look at all the big divisions, great guests as well, and those all-important ante-post tips. Get your Racing Post app ready, get your trackers ready, because loads of names are coming your way, courtesy of the gentleman joining me in this very studio. Thrilled to say, Racing Post legend himself, Paul Kealy, is here. We love this time of year, Keels.
We do, yeah. I mean, the changes of the seasons, I do love the changes of the seasons. Especially, I'm the sort of punter who likes to get upsets anyway. Like, you know, that's when you tend to get them. So, but yeah, no, I always love a switch of codes, and there's so much to get excited to about jumping, isn't there? You got loads of new hurdlers to look forward to, some we won't even have heard of yet. Loads of new chasers to look forward to. And the established stars coming back again and again and again.
Talking of established stars, Price-Wise himself is here. There's always a link, Tom.
No,
Tom, great to have you here. We got you in this year. That means that
only just.
That means that everything's great.
COVID's finished.
Let's make no bones about it, Tom. It's very difficult, isn't it, for punters out there and us pundits, tipsters, editors, everything, to get your head into the jumping sphere, if you like, and remember all the names from last year. How do you go about doing it? It doesn't take that long, does it?
Well, when you get to our age, Dave, you don't remember any. I can't remember the name of my kids, let alone 5 horses. But listen, it's what it is, isn't it? I always think it's a bit weird, because a race is just a race at the end of the day. So I had to do the Leinster National or something the other day, and you just get into it, don't you? You just do your work like you would for any race. You do your preparation. You know, a program like this makes it a little bit more tricky, because you have to do such a wide breadth of horses. But you know, we're supposed to be professionals, so we're supposed to know quite a lot of these horses. It's not like the punters at home who have to dip in and out. This is our job. So I know, you know, we're up and we're ready to go.
Well, in about an hour's 10's time, Tom, you're going to know it all right? So perhaps good that you are in. As it is, to have up in the ante-star himself, Johnny Dineen's flown over from Ireland for us. John, great to have you with us, man.
Yeah, delighted to be invited. Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to the jumps myself this year, actually, yeah. As most people are, to be fair, you know.
You would be considered more of a jumps man, I suppose, John, which isn't really strictly fair, is it?
No, I prefer the jumps. I do prefer the jumps. I'd watch the flat too, with a very keen interest in the flat, but I put more like credit, in my opinion, in the jumps than I would in the flat, definitely. I mean, not that I don't consult people in both codes, but I think I'd rate my opinion definitely slightly higher in the jumps than I would in the flat.
Well, star up in the ante, of course, Bet365. When does it come back?
It's 14th of November, I think it's starting. Yeah, it's 14th of November, so it's about another month or so, yeah.
David Jennings swatting up for the first show then. Well, John, great to know you're going to be with us for another winter. As is, all throughout the hour and the next 10 or so, from Bet365, yes, he's back. Pat Cooney.
Yes, hello there, and I feel a bit like in Stockley Park on the old VAR watching you fellas in the studio there, so I'll be taking notes throughout the show.
Right, OK, Pat. Prices at the ready, please. We'll probably throw curveballs. We're going to give you 5 to follow on the show and all that sort of thing. But let's have a look at exactly what is coming up. As promised to you, we're going to give you a big guest, and it's going to be Joe Chambers, racing manager to Rich Ricci, will be joining us. Max McNeill, powerhouse British owner, will be along the way as well. We're going to look at the Champion Hurdle, everything Constitution Hill, Champion Chase, Staying Hurdlers, the Gold Cup Division, Novice Chasers, Novice Hurdlers, all important 5 to follow before that best bet of the season. Before we move on, guys, let's whet the appetite a little bit. What meeting, we've got to be careful on this show, and we got a few pelters last year, Kills, that everything was geared towards Cheltenham. Oh no, not Cheltenham in March already. Every horse comes along on a Saturday and wins, or what price is it for this? Of course, so many decent meetings along the way, guys, aren't there? John, what are you really looking forward to?
The meeting I'm looking forward to is a meeting on the Wednesday before Christmas in Newbury. And then there's a cracking meeting on the Friday, 2 days later. There are 2 meetings I'm going to go to: Wednesday and spend maybe a day in London Thursday, knock around, and then go to Ascot on Friday and then go home. I love the Wednesday. There's never a big crowd there, but it's quality racing, quality novice hurdles, good for maybe a novice jet. Same in Ascot. Maybe this could be the Kendall Gate. I'm not sure there's that running that Friday, but it's good racing. There's cracking race. There's always a good bumper there on that Friday in Ascot. They're 2 days. They're my 2 favorite. One of my 2 favorite days of the whole season.
Wasn't really expecting Johnny to say that, and loads of people asking their boss for those days off. So be careful. Tom, yourself?
Don't get over to Ireland so much, but all those meetings where Willie runs his novices and Gordon runs those novices, all those ones from here up until Christmas, I love them all. You know, I could sit there. I was sitting there with my video recorder, stopping up. You know, video. How old am I? Video recording my, you know, the old Sky Plus or whatever it's called these days. Watching them back and forward, all those novices, because that's where the power is. Everyone knows it. Look, we got the old colours in front of us, all in Ireland. You know what I mean? That's where the powerhouse is. So I'm going to be watching them like a hawk throughout the season up until Christmas.
Knowing you've already sorted out your next box trip to which meeting?
Oh, well, I'm getting, you know, I try to go race as much as I can in the winter. Obviously Saturdays when I can. Sandow's one of my favourite tracks. Obviously, I love the Tingle Creek meeting. It is one of my favourites. I love the final day of the season at Sandown. I can't really say that's the one I'm most looking forward to because then it's all over. So early in the year, I love the Horton Gold Cup. Always have done. But I mean, if you ask me, if the meeting that I really look forward to going to every year and will do from now on is the Dublin Racing Festival. I just think it's brilliant over there. Thoroughly enjoy myself. Not to mention I can drink Guinness for 12 hours a day, and it's a nice Guinness. You know, so I mean, so it helps. But no, you know, the racing over there, the people over there, it's brilliant. And I would say, you know, yes, you get some uncompetitive races, but you get uncompetitive races everywhere these days. But it's really, really good fun over there.
No one mentioned Aintree, did they? I was expecting someone to come in with Aintree. I guess we've got to get a word about the recent changes about the National. Now, come on, it's all right. We're not on TV here. We've got a few more relaxed rules. We can bend them slightly. What do we make of it, first and foremost, the BHA changes, Tom, to the Great Race?
Look, we live in a world where these things are going to happen, aren't they? I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference in the slightest. I mean, you can't tell me that 34 runners or 40 runners would have stopped Hill's 16 tipping over. You know, it's just the way of the world. You can hurt yourself in a novice hurdle, let alone a novice chase. And I don't think a standing start's going to be any help either, myself. You know, because I think you miss the break, you're going to rush your horse up and, you know, get back in position. I'm not sure they're going to make that much difference, but, you know, I'm not massively against them. What I am massively against is the fact that I think Willie and Gordon said that it's going to turn it into a classier race, which to me means they're going to target it more, which means they might have half the field between them. And that would be a problem when you've got 20 runners from 2 stables and 14 for the rest. You know, that would, to me, would be an issue. But look, that's the world we live in, and we've got to get on with it. We've
got that problem with the Irish National, of course, at Ferryhouse, haven't we, John? Everyone, you know, in particular, it was Gigginstown, wasn't it? One year, everyone's, you know, they had half the field, didn't they?
It's the hats, isn't it? It's the hats. You remember, they didn't have enough hats.
Yeah.
The checkered hats all of a sudden coming in.
Yeah, exactly. And even next Sunday, I think I looked at the Limerick National, there's 23 runners, 11 of them belong to Elliott. So it's half the field alone. I suppose that's not a great look, to be fair. Like, the optics aren't great. But as regards the 34 runner Age-Regard National, as Tom said, it's the world we live in, and it's all about optics, and you've got to make changes to appease the people that are maybe coming against the game.
Yeah, Kills, I can feel you itching when he's getting in. A lot of people have said to me we had to be seen to do something after what happened. It was a hard watch for a lot of people out there.
It was the wrong time to do it, wasn't it? It's rubbish. It was total cowardice on the BHA as far as I'm concerned. The last thing you do when you've had a big protest like that is react to it by going some way to trying to appease them, because they're going to be back. Every single member of Animal Rising or whatever they're called, they're going to say that's a win. That's a one in the box. We'll be back next year. We'll get them to do something else.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. You expect them. It's doubled the chances of them being back, I reckon.
I don't think anyone was thinking they weren't going to be back.
No, I think they are going to be. Yeah, but it's literally emboldened them. And the more you give, you heard the saying, give an inch, take a mile.
Well, they were the problem, though, weren't they? The protesters, that was what freaked everyone out.
They were the problem, and they'll do it again, and they'll be emboldened by that fact. I was staggered by the amount of people who said it was a great idea to cut down the field size. I mean, it will make the race worse, because as the top trainer said, it'd be a classier event. They already run 2 milers in there with no chance because they got high handicap marks and make the race less competitive for them and give themselves a better chance to win it. It'll be worse. I think it's a terrible idea.
We need another Correct Rambler coming. All right, that's the National. I think winning the Inn is something we need to work on, though, isn't it? Come on, BHA, listen to that. Get the win.
It's crazy. So this is one thing I would change, is the per temps final. How stupid is that? Where you don't, if you can win a race and not get into a qualifier and not get into, how stupid is that? You have qualifiers, the winner goes in, whatever handicap mark he's got. Simple.
Yeah. We love the Veterans Chases, don't we? Of course, that's a great series that culminates in Sandown. All right, who's excited now? Let's get into the main play of the big jump off this year. And our first guest is lined up. Right, it's big guest time here on the big jump off. And thrilled to say that powerhouse owner, Rich Ricci's racing manager, Joe Chambers, joins us on the show. We've been trying to get you somehow in this studio, Joe, for a long time. Your guillotine moment is here. Welcome along.
Morning, how are we?
Bit grand. I mean, it's that time of year, Joe, where everyone wants to know what's going on with the big yards and in particular the big owners. And this is an angle that, we like to get into. Your good friend Paul Kealy sits on this couch as well, and you'll remember 12 months ago no one had ever heard the name Lossymouth, and Keels says it was his horse to follow for the year, and we all know what happened. First of all, how's the string looking going into the new season, and how excited about you are some new recruits?
We're excited. We've retired and sold a few off over the last kind of 12 months, tried to prune things a little bit, and Sal is retired and A1 is retired. He met with an injury after victory at Punchestown. So we've tried to kind of get back to concentrating on a bit of quality, and I think we're doing that. We'll have about 25 to 30 to kick the season off with, and it's autumn season, so Auteuil has just restarted. So there's an awful lot of agents on planes over to Paris every weekend, not just for the rugby, but for racing at the moment. And it's as competitive as ever to get new stock, as well as the new point-to-point season starting also.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people out there always wonder how it happens. You go and have a look on Sky Sports Racing on a Saturday, Sunday. Now you see all these great races, don't you? And you're right, that's where the stock comes from. Let's start off, if you don't mind, by talking about Lossymouth then. It couldn't have gone much better. You could argue she was unlucky to be, unbeaten, or not go unbeaten, I should say, after what happened with her and Carla Marceau at Leopardstown. What's the plan for her this season?
We'll take it quietly with her. I think, we learnt with Vauban and probably previous juveniles just how tough it is for them as a 4 or 5-year-old. I don't think you'll see her much before the new year. We were kind of looking at the race at Limerick in the 29 to 4-year-old only listed race, but the conditions of that have changed now. I think it's a handicap for 3 and 4-year-olds, or it's open now to 3 and 4-year-olds, and the conditions have changed somewhat. So there's every chance that she may have to travel to get a suitable opportunity, but we're not going to be in any rush with her. I think the more time you give them at this end of their 4-year-old year, the more you'll probably get back at the other end of it. So that's, there's no point learning lessons unless you try and apply them in the future. So I think that's what we'll do. That being said, I've no doubt Willie will probably enter in the Morgiana, the Hatton's Grace, the Christmas Hurdle, the Leopardstown, and all that kind of stuff as well. But got to keep the HRI coffers going, I suppose. We certainly won't be rushing her too much. And, whether she sticks to 2 miles or goes out for a mare's trip at some time in March, we genuinely have not had a conversation about her or any other horse other than Vauban in the last few months. So we'll just take it quietly, and we won't be in any rush to determine where we go.
I'm trying to think exactly what the viewers are thinking watching this now, Joan. At what point in the summer were you waiting for Nicky Henderson and Michael Buckley to say, reveal the worst kept secret in racing, that Constitution Hill was sticking over hurdles? Because that must have been on your mind.
Yes and no. It didn't really. I mean, she was never going to go chasing this year. It didn't really bother us. More from a Gaelic Warrior, Mr. Policeman, Novice Chaser point of view, and what you may or may not do with those. But, is she likely to beat Constitution Hill or even line up with him? Probably not. Does that mean you go for a mare's hurdle and step her out and trip? She's from the family of Lord Glitter, so that kind of comes with its own question marks. But it probably didn't really bother us, if I'm too honest. They're going to do their thing, and I guess, and my own suspicion is that after Aintree and how close Sharjah got to him, and it wasn't the most strongly run 2.5 mile hurdle ever, I don't think, based on some figures that I've seen. I think they were always going to stay hurdling, to be honest. Michael has he's been lucky enough to win a Queen Mother with Finian's Rainbow, so I suspect in his mind it's either the Gold Cup or stay hurdling, and that seems to be what is going out.
Tom, let's bring you in here. He mentioned Sharjah, of course, who's the perennial benchmark, isn't he? And he knows all about Constitution Hill. So you've got a horse like Lossymouth, you're thinking, well, I know how good she is in relation to old Sharjah, who's now, of course, novice chasing. How much does she have to find?
Oh, a lot to beat Constitution Hill, didn't she? As Joe pointed out, 4-year-olds have a pretty 4-year-olds going into the following year have a pretty dire record. They've won it a couple of times, haven't they? Punjabi won it as a 5-year-old and some other. But it's
Catch It's the one, right?
Catch It.
Yeah.
So it's hard though. It's very hard for those horses stepping up into open company. I think she can't beat Constitution Hill. No chance.
I mean, the thing is,
F. Bordallen won it, didn't he? But he didn't run the Triumph.
Sorry, say again.
Which one, Joe?
S. Bordallen, JP.
S. Bordallen,
Yeah. Oh yeah, S. Bordallen, obviously.
Yeah. So they can win it, but we've got a brilliant horse come along. Every horse, let alone the 4-year-olds, need to improve to beat Constitution Hill, don't they?
All right,
so it's an even bigger horse than normal.
We saw how difficult it was for Vauban, Johnny, didn't we, last season?
Yeah.
Vauban, a horse that you have got on your mind for a certain weekend coming up in November?
Yeah, look, I don't know a lot about the Melbourne Cup, but he looks he looks to have improved a lot, reverting back to the flat. Looks like a different animal. Like, looking at him now, you'd be wondering how Stateman was able to beat him so easily a few times there last year. Like, if they met again in a hurdle race now, they'd have to bet very, very tight. I'd say Vauban has improved anyway since his last hurdle run. To me, he's the horse to have to beat the Melbourne Cup. I don't know a lot about it at the same time, to be fair now, you know what I mean?
Let's bring in Pat Cooney, if we can do that, guys. Let's bring in Pat, because Pat, have you got a price for Vauban in the Melbourne Cup? Let me throw you that curveball.
Yeah, he's been all the rage, Dave. He's actually our 7-2 favourite. Of course, Ryan Moore has been booked to ride, so he ticks an awful lot of boxes, doesn't he? Stablemate Absurd is 16-1, the horse that won the Ebor, of course. But Vitor, yeah, he looks the part. Of course, the stable have come very, very close before in this race, so definitely one of interest. But he's sure to go a favourite. He's clear favourite, 7-2.
Not sure how Vitor would have gotten in the Melbourne Cup, but
Vauban.
Let's go back to Joe, because before we talk about what might happen later on, there's a big date at Flemington awaiting. Are you got on that flight? Have you, Joe? Have you got that ticket or?
Hoping to. Yeah, looks that way. There's a few other things going on in the world at the moment that could derail it, but we'll. That's the plan at the moment anyway. Get out there for a few days for 2 minutes of watching a race. It seems a long way to go, but we've done it before. It's a lot of fun. It's a great experience, and 2nd, 3rd and 5th, I think Rich and Susanna have been in the Melbourne Cup, so they've a little bit of unfinished business.
The locals think it's pretty much done and dusted. I'm pretty sure he's shorter than that on most of their PMUs out there and their tabs and all that sort of stuff. It was a remarkable performance at Ascot, where everyone had it right off. He was the banker of the meeting for most, and he certainly did it that way. We've seen the form. It was a tough year for him over hurdles, wasn't it? But it was by no means disgraced. Say he comes through, hopefully, as we all want him to, at Flemington, what would the plan be going forward? Because he, distance-wise, is a very interesting contender, I think, for everyone this season.
Well, he's from the family of Bob Geiss and Mass Marvel and a load of stamina, really. So, whether he's a 2-mile hurdler or not, I don't know. I also think, and it's a personal opinion, and I think Willie was probably working back from Melbourne rather than the champion hurdle in March, if that makes sense, for the last 9 months or so. Because he has really come to himself, and he's travelled great, he's eaten up well, he's settled in well in Werribee. Did his first half speed last week, and he seemed to go very well from the video I saw, and David's very happy, more importantly. And it's a big weekend out there. They got the Caulfield Cup, and there's 11 of the top, I want to say 28 in the order of ballot for the Melbourne Cup running in that. So it'll be a fair gauge as to where an awful lot of the opposition are at also. But one thing we learned from Max and from Thomas Hobson when they came back after 2017, wasn't it? 2017, yeah. It took them a long time to get over it. Max himself went back via Hong Kong, so he had an extra race. So whether he ends up being a flat horse and doesn't go back hurdling, or whether he goes back hurdling, we'll worry about that come January, February time, touch wood, on the assumption he's still sound and well. But hopefully we can try it, land a big pot in 3 weeks' time down under.
Right then, that's a couple of superstars in the Rich Armoury going forward. Let's have a talk about a couple of others, because Gaelic Warrior is a horse that's on everyone's lips, Joe. After an unbelievable run by an Impera Pass in the Ballymore, he then went to Punchestown, looked better the further he went. I guess the question is, how's he summered, and does he have to go right-handed?
He probably does, to get the very best out of him, or at least get the very best out of him at this stage of his career. he looked pretty much at ease at Punchestown, be that the direction of travel or the increase in trip. I thought he ran a blinder in the Ballymore, and a couple of things probably didn't go his way, but I do think he's run into a proper horse in Imperial Pass as well. I would think he's very good, and it's fascinating that he stays over hurdles as well. My own inclination, and I think I said it to Lydia or on RTE, I can't remember to who, after Punchestown was to go chasing, because I'd love to see him go chasing. But he has had a few issues with his back. He's obviously got the direction of travel problems that are there. And, you know, Willie kind of shot me down fairly quickly about going chasing this year, and wanted to have a year over hurdles. And so that was the kind of inclination going into the summer. I guess through a lack of alternatives, he's probably made his way to the top of the stairs hurdle market. You know, we haven't spoken about whether he goes chasing or hurdling. My understanding and suspicion through the summer is that we'd probably stay hurdling, and I think that's where Rich's head is. But I suspect Willie will get him fit, and we'll kind of make a decision sometime in November, December time, a couple of weeks before he's ready to go.
Yeah, fair enough, Joe. I mean, because of that gamble in the Boodles, when somehow he managed to find 1-2 good off 1-2-9, he's always been a real public horse. And he's got these quirks as well, hasn't he? He's definitely got the scope to jump fences despite his flat pedigree. And I guess when you look at his rating over hurdles, he could be something exciting there, couldn't he?
Oh, big time. I mean, it was a fair achievement to get him beat off 1-2-9. But I think that also goes to his immaturity as well. You know, he was pretty raw that day. And interestingly, in his few runs in France, they were all during COVID. So he never raced in front of a crowd until he went to Cheltenham that day in the Boodles. And he did an awful lot of growing up last year, but I think the last 5-year-old we sent Novice chasing was Cheltenham, because all the allowances and the conditions have changed an awful lot for younger horses going chasing, at least they have in Ireland. But you know, if Rich and Susanna have a horse that could one day run over 3 miles 2 and a bit at Cheltenham on a Friday, I probably think it's him. He's got a huge amount of ability, and you know, it's a case of kind of slowly last season with him over hurdles. You know, Willie ran him in winners of ones and conditions hurdles before he went to the DRF and won what was the Ladbroke. And he kind of progressed from there. So, look, hugely excited about him. And we'll kind of I do think 3 miles is probably his trip. He probably doesn't have an instant turn of foot. But I do think he's got a big engine in there, and I thought he was deeply impressive at the end of the season at Punchestown.
Let's get to some more established stars then now, Joe. The mare, Allegory Devassi, who of course bumped into one when she went to the festival.
Yeah, she ended up disappointing us. She got enough of it, mind, the back end of the season between Cheltenham, Fairyhouse, Punchestown. You know, I thought jumping the last at Cheltenham, she was home and home for all money, but whether it was her wind that gave out or not, we've changed a number of things with her work rider and all that kind of stuff. And I just detect the quiet air of confidence, particularly around Ruby, Paul and Willie, that they're tweaking a few things with her training this year. And I think we might see a different mare this coming season. Whether her trip is 2 miles or 2.5, I don't know. Her wind never gave out in her first couple of wins at Limerick and was it Clonmel or Thurles, I can't remember. But when you get into a different calibre of opposition, and I think JP's mare, and we were thrilled for Brian Hayes, who's a big part of Willie's team, you know, for him to get his Cheltenham winner. But let's see what happens. Her form did tail off, but I think she had plenty racing at that stage, and we probably got a few things wrong with her throughout the season as well. But I'd like to think we'll see a better mare this year.
She, again, is another one that tended to go one way and then the other, didn't she? But she's obviously very, very talented. What about Monkfish? Lots has been said about him, of course, since he's finally come back.
He hurt himself at Punchestown, but, you know, he had a great return at Fairyhouse. A really, really pleasing return. And he kind of just had to go and give it a go at Punchestown. But whether he bounced or not, he did jar himself a little bit, but we'll just take it quietly with him. I'd like to think we'll be going back over fences, and you know, every day that's a sound day is a bonus. I wouldn't be holding out huge hope that all the ability is still there, but I do think there's probably a pot in him somewhere along the way, and it would be great to see him come back, because I think it was Paul Nolan that said that day that he and latest exhibition, did they beat Conflated by 50 or 55 lengths at Leopardstown? I suspect that particular day left a mark on both of them, and we probably saw it towards the back end of Monkfish's own Novice Chase season as well.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. Talking about novice chasing, Shah Jahar's reinventing himself, isn't he? Finally having a go. And you'll try and make hay with him, I imagine, will you?
Yeah, we will. He'll probably go for the Drinmore now, or Christmas at Leopardstown. We need to find a few younger ones, though, not 10, 11-year-olds that are flying the flag at Grade 1 level, and hopefully we'll have a few. But he's had a great kind of resurgence in that regard, and I know Paul was delighted with him, and he seems to have a great appetite for it as well.
He loves it, doesn't he?
He's got a great appetite for racing, which I think he's shown as well over the last number of years. And he's just one of those that has managed to stay sound, and as a result hang around for long enough. And they've nearly always been Grade 1 races that he's running. And Patrick had a great relationship with him over hurdles. Willie wanted to put Paul up over fences. That's fine with us. That's his call. And let's see where he can get to. And I think at this stage of his life, the extra half a mile he's probably appreciating, and that might be leading to some of the enjoyment he gets as well. We've another horse for probably 2 mile novice chasers called Mr. Policeman. He's only run once for us. He won at Cork in a conditions hurdle. I think it was last April. I'd say he's a fairly good animal now. His work was always very good. He was only a novice until the Royal Bond last season, just because of when he won in France. So we didn't. Then he met with a setback, so we didn't get to run him in there, and we didn't get him back in time for the Spring Festival. So there wasn't an awful lot for him in the programme book, and Willie was tempted to go to O'Toy with him after that, but he just decided he's a 2 mile novice chaser for this season, and he wanted to mind him and make sure he had him right for the winter. And as I say, his work has always been good. He probably won the race a few times down in Cork, and was very pleasing. At least he passed the eye test, put it that way. And I would have fairly high hopes for him this year going novice chasing.
So, in my notes in this interview, it had take breath, talk about Mr. Policeman. You went there yourself, and a siren went off, basically for all the viewers. He's the one, isn't he, that we're very excited about? I mean,
from a novice chasing point of view, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Can't put up a 10 or 11-year-old in Sharjah, can we? But he's a horse that, just based on his homework at home, we were excited by him last October, November with a view to running in the Royal Bond. That didn't happen. So he's going to be the latest talking horse in the pink and green, I suspect, based on some of the books and previews that are coming out. But at least he's done it on the track once for us, and he did it on the track in France before we bought him as well. And I just think he's got a fair amount of ability, and if we can harness it and get him to show it on the track, that'd be great.
Let's come to you, because this list that you usually get off Joe at this time of year came to me, which he was livid about.
No, absolutely amazed. Gives you a great big long list. Now, what I normally do is I ask Joe, give me 2 or 3,
and that would have been at the top, right?
Give me 2 or 3 for the book that the book that we bring out, and Mr. Policeman was top. It's great to see young horses come up and see the do. I'd never heard of him. Right, and I found out he'd only won once at the end of the season at Cork, and then you see he's running against experienced hurdlers, and he took the mickey out of them.
Yeah.
First run, out of France, run to an RPR of 150. Marine. Now I know he's not officially a novice, but it's only the second run of his life. Marine National's run to 158. I think when winning at Cheltenham, so he's not a million miles off. The best young hurdler going that's going novice chasing. So yeah, you've got to be excited. The money's dribbled into the market, though, isn't he? He's already third favourite for the Arkle.
OK, Joe, conscious we've got you on the clock, so let's talk about some of last year's bumper horses, if you don't mind, before we talk about some totally unknown names. Chapeau de Soy is a very interesting horse. Going into Cheltenham, it was leaking all over the place that Richie had actually had a bet on this one. He's always been the apple of the eye, right? But he's had his problems.
Was it? I never heard that one. He hadn't, to the best of my knowledge, anyway. He's a good horse. He was almost unrideable for Patrick at Fairyhouse on his debut, and we probably rushed him to get him to Cheltenham. He was nearly brought down at the top of the hill, and he still finished in front of a fair amount of horses, and he made a huge amount of ground up. So we left him alone to bring him back for the winter, and as long as he stays sound, I think there's a fair racehorse in there for us to go to war with this year. And I would retain, as long as he stays sound, with that caveat, kind of goes with all of them. I think he's one that could, I'd like to think he's a graded horse, put it that way. Dr. Eggman is another horse who he had a couple of setbacks during his bumper life, which is why he's only run 3 times for us. He ran at Fairyhouse in the Myrna Sales race the season before last. Had a setback in November, came back, ran well at Punchestown, and then he won his bumper at, I think it was Sligo or Ballin Road. But the second, John McConnell's horse, has come out and won. I think he won at Bellewstown and Listowel, if I'm not mistaken, Johnny. He won fairly impressively and by a long way. But I'd say he's probably he's a Santa Sant horse who'll appreciate a trip, and I'd like to think again he'll be a graded novice hurdler. Mercury is a fair survival story. He won well at Gorn in the 4-year-old bumper. He then went to Cork for the good listed bumper after Cheltenham and came third. He was very, very sick that day, so we were happy to put a line through it. And then he came out in the maiden hurdle at Cork and was beaten by one of Henry's in November time, I think it was, or early December. He then spent about 11 weeks in Feathert as he had a significant leg injury that he suffered during that race, and he's been a very good patient and has come back. And I'd like to think that sometime around the turn of the year he should be back in a race course in maiden hurdles. We still retain an awful lot of faith in him, and the attitude he showed as a patient is also very pleasing. And then another horse who has only run twice for us, but he did an awful lot of galloping at Punchestown the season before last, called the Moore Park. He's a walk in the park horse. Again, I think he'll be a decent novice hurdler this season, probably over 2.5 miles to 3 miles.
All the Racing Post app trackers are filling up. Let's go to she's going to be compared with Lossie Mouth. You bought her after she won a French maiden. It's one of those QPR races, isn't it? But however you pronounce it.
This one wasn't. No, this was actually a flat race, which makes it even more strange.
Risk Bahia.
Risk Bahia, I'm assuming you're talking about. So she won a mile 7 flat race in Fontainebleau in September, and we picked her up after that. And she's a pure national hunt bred. She's no risk at all out of a sleeping car mare. Look, it's very late to be getting juvenile hurdlers. Rich would love to try and win 3 triumphs in a row. She probably won't be the last juvenile horse that we'll buy between now and then. But we'll probably just run her in graded races, either start her off at Leopardstown at Christmas or the DRF and go from there. And if she wins one, that's great. And if not, we'll have a novice hurdler to go to war with next season. But she looks to be a fine mare. She'll definitely jump a fence in time. She's a different model to Lossie Mouth, different pedigree as well. So let's see what it brings. But she only won about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she's quite a large, 16-2 gangly kind of mare. She's got a lot of filling out to do. Whether she's this season's horse or next season's, we'll see. But the fact she was able to do what she did on debut is quite unique.
Yeah, I think she beat the right horse, didn't she? Old School Career there. It was well beaten by a very well-regarded Aga Khan horse time before. Look, there's a name for you, all right. You can go back and watch those videos. Of course, they're all out there. Let's hear about 3 bumper horses, Joe, that you've picked for us.
Grey horse called Joystick. He's a Coastal Path horse that we got from Donegal. He was actually third in his point-to-point officially. I don't know who the judge was on the day, but I'm fairly sure he was second by a neck. But the second has been bought by 7 Barrels, Jude Deschamps, who got a favourable write-up. Look, we'll see. He's come from Donegal, who we got A1 from, and he was by the same sire, Coastal Path. For some reason, if you look at the record of Coastal Path's progeny, WP seems to have a significantly better record than most other trainers. Whether that's a quirk of the sire or a quirk of the trainer, I don't know. But he looks a fine animal. He's a lovely walker and a lovely mover, and he did an awful lot of galloping that day in the point-to-point. So hopefully he'll start off on a bumper sometime around Christmas time. And then there's 2 horses from the Derby sale 12 months ago. One is a walk in the park filly out of the family of Land of Hope and Glory in Vauban called Sip Sip Hooray, and the other is a Sea of Stars out of the extended family of 2 Darren Houghton Daliacour called On Cloud Wine. He's actually a half brother to a horse of Johnny Murtagh's that was rated about 97 or 98. I can't remember the name of it now. Dalcalva, I think, or something like that. So look, they'll start off in bumpers. We'll see where they go, but it was quite pleasing. I think it was the Sea of Stars that Willie went back and bought the half brother for himself. at the Derby sale this year. So I guess his work last year wasn't too bad, albeit we just backed off them and didn't want to rush them. And we learned the lesson with Dr. Regman that you try and rush him for a sales race, you may not have a horse for the following 12 months. So it's better bite your lip in the near term so that you've got something for the longer term.
The future looks bright, Joe. Looks like a great season ahead from all of us here at the Racing Post. All the best. Thanks for coming on. We could have sat and listened to you for hours, and all the best at Flemington.
Thank you very much. Be good. Best of luck, lads.
All right, there you go. Free bets, 500 quid's worth, all out there for you. Right, first division's got to be the Champion Hurdle division. Let's have a look with the lads. But Pat Kealy, give us the current update on the market for the big one on the opening day of the Cheltenham Festival.
Yes, Constitution Hill is 4-9 as we speak. Second in is State Man at 6, Impera Passe 13-2, and 20-1 Bar. Now you look at Constitution Hill 4-9. That seems reasonable enough, really, doesn't it? But the only thing is, of course, it's so much between now and then. And how do we get him beat? Well, I don't think State Man will beat him. Maybe Impera Passe might improve, but it's his to lose, really. Kills the race off, really, from a betting point of view. But you do wonder about him, don't you? He is a very slick, fast jumping horse. And even the mighty Isterbrack fell twice when he was a hurdler. So maybe a horse might not get him beat, but maybe circumstances will. And I do think when I looked at him winning that Aintree over the 2.5 miles, maybe that wasn't ultra impressive. So maybe, who knows, heavy ground, that might be another reason to get him chinned. But the one thing I've always thought of him, yes, champion, of course, but he's so quick over these hurdles. Well, maybe one day he'll be too quick and come down. But I don't see another rival beating him, that's for sure. And 4-9, I think if the race was run tomorrow, it'd probably be near enough 5 on, maybe.
There are a few eyebrows being raised during Pat's monologue there. That is classic Cooney, that is, by the way, a deep dive. Let's, Pat, stand by in case some of the guys want to give out some bigger prizes. Johnny, let's come to you. 9-4 on, and Pat's punting out. It's got to be circumstances to get him beat rather than horses.
Yeah, but like 9-4 on 6 months in advance. Like, there's none of men alive could bet 9-4 on, no matter what it has to do. Do you know what I mean? It's too far away to be betting 9-4 on. And like ante-post is ante-post, and every horse can get a knock or get a setback. So look, 9-4 on is like, what price can he be? He could be 4-1. Of course, he could be 4-1 on, but 5-1 on even. But even at taking 9-4 on now, it's too much of a fall at 4-9 to be backing a horse ante-post anyway, I think.
Of us amongst the panel, Johnny would probably be the layer, obviously, with your old bookmaking past, of course, but you still get involved with laying horses quite heavily. Is he a horse you've ever tried to take on?
Did I ever lay a Constitution Hill? I backed Might Eye against him in Sandown one Saturday.
This is confessions of a punter time now, isn't it?
And I never
first time out, that is.
Yeah.
First time out.
Yeah, I never opposed him since. That was the day, like, you just saw somebody said, this is a good horse.
He slid out to 5-2 that day from memory, of course.
I was on the wrong one. And for a few strides coming to second, that's how to win. And next thing you might just came through horse and bolted in. But I haven't been against him since, and I don't intend to be either now, to be honest. No, even at 4 or 5-1, I wouldn't be bothered laying him. As Pat probably says, is probably right. If barring accidents, he'd probably win again. Yeah.
He's the most remarkable horse, I got lucky enough to go and sit down there to do a feature with him in the summer. I went and saw him at Charlie and Tracy Vigers, along with, it was an amazing day. Shishkin, we'll get to him later on, Jet Powered and horses like that, and Dusar. You wouldn't pick him out of a lineup. He's the most unassuming animal. It's a freaky story, really. And what beats him? It's got to be the Irish. There's going to be no British horse can get near him.
I'm no expert on what horses look like until they start running and jumping. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. I wouldn't pick any horse out. I wouldn't be able to tell you who they were.
I went up to him and Shishkin, I thought Shishkin was Constitution Hill,
Yeah, I think they all look lovely, but would I be able to say that horse is this or that horse? I wouldn't be able to say.
But my point being, Kills, it's a freaky story because he got beaten in his point. They didn't really know what was going to happen at Sandown.
He should have won half the track.
And this is potentially the best jump horse of all time, some people are saying.
Yeah, well, that's just nonsense, isn't it? You know what I mean?
But it doesn't. It just proved that it takes a freak to escape the guys from Ireland that they can get to England. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's potentially the best hurdler of all time, but unfortunately, he's now around at a time when there's no competition whatsoever. I mean, you've got okay, you've got Imperial Pass staying over hurdles. You've got State Man, who he's already thumped, but they're not going to come over here and take him on. So the best horses that he's going to run against in Britain all the way up until March, Epatante, not so sleepy.
She's been retired now.
She's been retired, so she's not around. So it's not so sleepy.
Yeah.
The highest rated horse he's going to run against is Not So Sleepy.
Yeah. What do we make of?
And then we've got. I tell you who is staying over hurdles. Rubo. He'll pick up some prize money.
Paul Nicholls.
Paul Nicholls, Chris Giles Holmes. He's staying over hurdles.
The elite hurdles, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he'll run in a couple of them, and he may well follow Constitution Hill over, but he will start 16 on at the very biggest until he goes to Cheltenham in March. So that's it.
Negs. I'm thinking off the top of my head here. It was the hardest race he'd had yet at Aintree, wasn't it? When he signed off.
Look, it's Aintree, isn't it? He was probably a few pounds below par, but he still absolutely bolted up, didn't he? I mean, people are making a bit of a meal of that for me. He didn't hardly come off the bridle, did he? And it was probably a trip too far for him. I think 2 miles fine.
One thing I was told when I was about 15 was ignore all form post-Cheltenham.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right, well,
what I would say, though, Dave, is that the only interesting thing for me, the only angle, is that Willie decided to keep Impere Pass over hurdles. He must want a crack at Constitution Hill with him. He must think he's a good bit better than State Man.
Now we're getting into it, because if there's a bet, when Pat was talking, are you surprised that Impere is bigger with 365? Yes.
Much. But I think he's different class to State Man. I think he's a lot better than State Man.
We're all nodding at that, right?
But that doesn't make it mean he's going to beat Constitution Hill. But what I would say is that Willie wants a crack at him, doesn't he?
No, definitely, yeah.
He wants a crack at Constitution Hill with Impere Pass. He must think he can get closer to him than State Man.
Let's play chess pieces on the board. We'll get to this, but they've got Facile Vega, right, going for the Arkle. They've got Mr. Policeman, who we've heard about from Joe, is whatever you say, they are very excited about that one. Is it a case of let's have a free hit at Constitution Hill, or do they genuinely think this guy can improve the stone he's going to need to?
Well, I think they must think they've got a chance. Otherwise, why do it?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I thought that was quite interesting. I think come Cheltenham, when he's won his 3 races in Ireland, which he will do, probably beating State Man, I don't think he'll be a 13-2 shot. I think he'll be 3-1.
Morgiana?
Yeah, he'll win.
That's the one. It's the route, John, isn't it?
Yeah, they got Morgiana, the one at Christmas. Yeah, look, they'll probably run against each other at some stage. Imperial Pass and State Man, you'll see from the jockey bookings which one is the right one then at that stage. Look, as Tom said, they're probably going to, they have maybe one shot at it, as maybe Imperial Pass. I don't think so myself. I don't see it, but look, maybe a horse could break down. I mean, maybe if you're over, put this way, if they put him over fences and then they're top heavy with the chasers, and next thing Constitution Hill goes wrong, and he said, we should have stayed over hurdles, you know, that kind of way. But I don't know what way they're thinking. But I agree with you. If they are keeping them over hurdles, they must give themselves some semblance of a chance anyway.
Kills, you haven't really had your say on this. Tom, he was your banker when we did our Cheltenham Festival preview, I remember. Kills, you were all over him as well. The moment he crossed the line in the Ballymore, what were you thinking about this season?
What's the race after the Ballymore? I was thinking of that one.
I was thinking, I wish he'd backed him for the Ballymore or not the Supreme.
Yeah.
But I think my main thought was, as good as Marine Nationale was, I think he'd have won both. I think he'd have won the Supreme as well if he'd have run in it. But then I think Constitution Hill would have won the Ballymore if he'd have run in it, and that's the race I backed him for. So that's just down.
You're good at that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Bigger prices then. Anything fly wise? I mean,
there's literally nothing about
Yeah,
it.
nothing else.
That is the problem. We're deep into an era where jumps racing is lacking competition, and the 2 mile hurdler division is the worst of those, which unfortunately has one of the best horses in it.
we're lucky that Willie's kept Impere then, because otherwise it would have been a pretty boring division, wouldn't it?
Well, it would have been the same as last year, wouldn't it?
It looks, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I say boring, of course. We've got the best.
It's not boring when you've got Constitution Hill around, but
From a punting perspective.
Let's just talk about Constitution's plan then. It looks like fighting fifth again, all being well. They were thinking about going to Ascot with the grounds, you never know.
Yeah, I mean...
Then you got Christmas. Then we've got the moved international, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which that's a good move, guys, isn't it? It's great to have a champion trial on Trials Day, right?
Yeah, that's listen, if that ground there can get very, very bad,
Yeah.
I wonder whether he'll even turn up. I wonder whether he'll go there. I think he'll go. I think he'll go Christmas and then wait like he did
I
last
would
year.
have thought so myself. Yeah.
don't
Because he
think
could have
it's a
something like Lucia or something for that race anyway. Do you know what I mean? Do you know,
there's been good vibes about her.
something has to appear in those races from England.
And
anyway.
you think they'll have a crack with Lossie, don't you, after listening to Joe? Because they've got Sharjah and he wasn't that far off him at Aintree, so why not have a go getting £7?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too
wouldn't.
keen on.
Yeah, I mean,
worried about the form
they
with
make-
Sharjah.
I mean,
So
if
basically-
they made Lossiemouth favourite for one of those races without Constitution Hill in it, I'd be laying the pants off her. I don't think she's that good.
So having said that 9 to 4 on was a terrible price, we're all looking at the 5 to 1 on in March. and
It's
thinking,
just, I mean,
It's like what Johnny said, isn't it?
surely you've got better things to do with your money than
well, of course, but a lot of people do the Accas because they like to turn up at Cheltenham, and you know what I mean. They like to have one now, you know what I mean, all that sort of stuff. So there are a lot of people out there doing it. They are.
People do, but I've never done one.
They do.
I've never backed anything at 4 to 9 6 months.
So what, look, let us know. You can
Never
do it
backed
on
anything at
YouTube.
4
Get
to
it below. Who's sticking in Constitution Hill now at the 9 to 4 on in an Acca? With, I don't know, other good things at the meeting that you found, which we're about to delve into. That was the Champion Hurdle division. Impere Pass, you need to step up, otherwise the hill is coming. Right, now let's lift the lid on a little bit of the mechanics here, isn't it? Because after talking about Constitution Hill and Impere Pass, we're talking about the Champion Hurdle. We've got to be careful about not doing, as I said at the top of the show, a Cheltenham preview in October, right? So this is the 2 mile chase division. Of course we need to think about the Queen Mother because that's where you work back from with all the horses, right? What do we make of it, Tom, as a group, as a sort of generation, if you like, as 2 mile chasers? We all think back to when we had Azertiot, Moscow and World Chief. That's the sort of easy one to go back to. Where do we stand at the moment with the current class?
Well, bar Energumene, I thought the rest of the established 2 mile chasers were pretty moderate to be. You know, Edwardstone was good on his day, wasn't he?
It's a horse that you've always been a big fan
I've always liked him, but he's getting on now, isn't he? He's not a young horse anymore, Edwardstone. I think he'd probably go up in trip now is the thing for him. I don't think he can win a champion chase myself. I think the youngsters coming up are a different kettle of fish. I thought they were really good last year. I thought El Fabiolo was magnificent in the Arkle. He will. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they'll split the 2 of them up, but they will. There's loads of races for the pair of them. But I also like John Bon. I don't think he's. I think he's better than he showed at Cheltenham. I thought it was one of those races that nothing really went his way that day. He's still got a bit to find to get to the other 2. I think Willie will win it. You know, each money each 2 for me. I think it's too much of a disparity in the price for the champion chase at the moment, but I think the 3 of them stand out. I can't see anything from left field.
What are we looking at in the Tingle Creek? Because that's really, we've got the Schlur, of course, at Cheltenham on the Sunday at the open meeting, but that can be a funny race. I mean, Nube Negro, it was a penalty kick after Edwardstone. Do you remember? The ground was too quick, and it was a funny season for Edwardstone.
I have a feeling we're not going to worry about quick ground early this season.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the rain's been pretty constant. We've had a really, really wet summer.
Well, that's an important point, Kills, isn't it? Because
so I think
they can't moan now, can they, the trainers?
I think it's going to be different. I mean, at some point we'll have a dry spell. I mean, it might for once turn out to be Cheltenham. Hasn't been for quite a while, has it, at Cheltenham Festival? So we don't know. But I think everywhere's going to be wet and okay to run their horses. So I think they can pick and choose. I don't see why John Bon wouldn't go for the Tingle Creek though, because he's already shown. He's 2 from 2 there over fences, isn't he? He's already shown that he handles it really well. He actually, I mean, you have to forgive him this because again, it was a post-Cheltenham race. Though he won the Celebration Chase, which is coming out of Novice Company, he ended up winning it quite easily. His jumping there wasn't particularly good. He has jumped miles better than that, but the fact that he won it really easily, even so, against an informed Captain Guinness, who's a pretty useful animal on his day, and obviously they had Grenadine beaten Miles on soft ground that he doesn't like. If it was good ground, you'd give Grenadine half a chance of being up there, but anything slower than good these days, I don't think he's quite up to it. He'll have another go though, and he might be an early season horse too. I want to be a fan of John Bon this year because I spent 2 years trying to get him beat, and when you look at him, he's just a winner, isn't he? The only 2 horses to beat him were Constitution Hill and El Fabiolo, and it's 1-1 between those 2. So they definitely deserve to have another crack at him. So yeah, I think I'm going to get in his camp this year.
All right.
Yeah, because the thing about him early on, because he'd cost so much, because of his pedigree being a brother of Duvan, everyone was talking about him being a superstar straight away, and that sort of thing just really annoys me, and it always will. But he's on his way, and there's still a chance he'll be one, and he's got the attitude, I think, as well.
Yeah,
he's a winner. So if I was going to have a bet now, I might take a chance on him. And as you mean, they've still got to get to him in terms of ability, but he's going to be 10. Only very, very good horses or very, very lucky horses win a champion chase at the age of 10. Special Tiara won it when Duvan was a 2-9 shot and went lame.
Get your minds going, lads. I mean, Moscow, you think of.
Sacra, Moscow Flyer was 11. I mean, they're two absolute legends of 2-mile chasing.
Yeah.
And, it just doesn't happen very often.
I think it's set up for a novice to come and take his crown this time anyway myself. I do think it's between El Fabiolo and John Bon. And to me, at the prices at the minute, I'd be going John Bon, because there is a mistake in El Fabiolo that there isn't in John Bon, in my opinion.
A lot of people would be interested to hear that, John, because you were all over El Fabiolo, weren't you? But that was...
Yeah, but that was like when they were like 2 each of 2 at the time. You know what I mean? Now you're talking like... I think John Bon is as big as 7-1, isn't he? Like, is he around that price? I'm not sure. Whereas El Fabiolo is under 2-1. It's a big disparity in the prices now.
That is.
John Bon is going to go Tingle Creek, no opposition, probably going to go races. These horses will have no bother avoiding each other either, won't they? Like, I think they'll only meet if the 3 of them are still going in Cheltenham.
A lot of the jockeys that used to ride, that I now occasionally do some work with, they were impressed with El Fabiolo about how badly his technique was at meeting some of these fences. And even at Cheltenham,
impressed with
how he was getting away with it.
Yeah.
They said it takes a special animal to not really come down.
Yeah.
So you're right, John. It's a point. People, a lot of those will be out there.
But someday his luck might run out. You know what I mean? That's
what I'm talking about. Yeah. So are we all team John Bon this season?
Well, I mean, he's definitely a horse I want. I want to get on side with this year. I want to be a fan of John Bon from now on, I think, and I hope that doesn't put a mockers on him. But the other thing Johnny was right about, as he alluded to there, the problem with jump racing these days is these 3 will have no problems not running against each other until the spring.
Yeah, we often see a handicapper come up. Editor Jajit, it's a classic example of something that can come out of the woodwork, isn't it, Tom? I mean, it's hard to nail.
You're going to ask me. God, that's a tough one, Dave.
So glad you went to Tom.
The hot potato.
Thanks, Dave. Way you go.
I know, absolutely.
Jeez.
The veteran chaser amongst us.
Yeah, exactly.
But it can happen, can't it? And it's what makes this division exciting, isn't it?
Well, it is, but they don't actually win it, do they?
They don't tend to win it.
They don't go anywhere. They won't get near these 3. They're proper top-class horses.
So, that's what I wanted to end on, really. It's an exciting division to see who's going to come out on top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, okay. We had to find one division, didn't we? It's the 2-mile chasers. Let's get it on. Okay, Stairs, hurdle time. It's the stamina sapping division coming your way. Again, Pat, we're working back, aren't we, from the big one on the Thursday of the Cheltenham Festival. This will help us talk about the long walk hurdles, etc. The Galmoys in Ireland, see where the new blood might be coming in a division that needs it. Who's favourite?
Well, favourite is 4-1 Gaelic Warrior, and of course this is the horse who the public's always had a love affair with this horse. It seems to be money around for him wherever he goes and wherever he races. He's 4-1 by elimination, I would say. He did look the part when he stepped up to 3 miles at the end of the season. He does jump right. There's a lot not to like about him, but when you go through the list of runners, he's there at the top of the market by elimination, really. Second in is Impare Pass at 8-1. Now, he's probably got champion hurdle aspirations. The only way he'll run in the stay is if he doesn't cut the mustard over the 2 miles. So he won't be having a good season going into that. Next in is Marie's Rock at 12. She'll have that mare's allowance, which will be invaluable. I think if you promise me heavy ground on the day, I'd fancy Tehupu at 12-1. He's one that's very ground dependent, and so on and so on. You just go through the list. And the one you keep coming back to is Gaelic Warrior, but even he's not bomb-proof.
Being a 365 company man over the years, we tend to start on Charlie Hall Day, don't we, with the West Yorkshire hurdle, and again it depends who turns up there. You can have chasers sort of getting ready for the old Hennessy.
It's become a starting point for Hennessy horses, hasn't it? In recent years, you've had 2 or 3 chasers have been going in it. It's early for horses. You're thinking about getting to the back end of
the season.
Well,
then we've got Newbury, haven't we? And then we've got the long walk and all that
the long
stuff.
distance of Newbury and the long walk, and more like it. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Gaelic Warrior. Would they bring him over for the long walk because it's right-handed track?
Yeah.
Which is shooting down the ground. And the big issue with the horse is 4-1 favourite. We know that however good he is going left-handed, it's not actually the way he wants to go.
Joe didn't fancy him going left-handed at all, did he?
Well, you know, we've seen it. We've seen it twice. You know, but in fairness to the horse, his jumping wasn't that bad to the right last year. He did hang to his right though, so I think whenever he's under pressure, he does favour that side. But you know, he's obviously a decent horse. I would, like Pat said, if you asked me who I was going to back now, you guarantee me soft ground, I'd give Teahupoo another go. He is only 6. I think if he'd have switched right instead of left, he might have won last year. We've got the novices coming up, but a lot of them are going over fences, aren't they?
Yeah.
Stay Away Faye goes over fences. Corbett's Cross, who I'm very interested in. I think that was just a blip. Something caught his eye at that last. He might well have won that race. Sander Clegane, all of these horses are going over fences. This is the issue because, you know, as we know, the great staying hurdlers tend to be great staying hurdlers by mistake, don't they? Because nobody actually wants a staying hurdler. They want a Gold Cup horse.
Yeah, but if we're going to look for a horse at a price, this is the division, right, where one might just come.
One might come through, but it could easily be one of those that's gone over fencing and it doesn't work out. So where do they come from?
It's hard, isn't it? Because normally you look to Cheltenham's Novice Hurdles the year before for a staying hurdler, and I thought the Albert Bartlett wasn't. It was a spud race. It wasn't a great race for me last year. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it is the potato race.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think that was a great race. I thought that it sort of fell apart late on. I agree with Keels. I think Corbett's Cross is the one from that race. I'm not sure he stayed the trip though. I know he's won a point. I think because when he won the 2 mile,
He dropped back to 2 mile, didn't he?
He dropped back to 2 mile and won a graded race. I think the Turners might be his race if he stays over fences, and whether they'd run him in the stairs anyway, I don't know. Teahupoo is the obvious one from that race because 11-year-old won it last year.
Well, I was just about to talk about the big one. I mean, how did Cider Burley win that? And of course, you look at the British division, much as we love him, one of my favourite horses in training, Dashel Drasher nearly won it.
Yeah.
Unlucky not. And again, you've got Teahupoo. John, you've got a slightly different view than Kills to Teahupoo, haven't you?
Look, I kind of think Teahupoo had his chance. He had his shot at it last year. He's young horse still, but he was running since he's 3, so it's like he's running 3-year-old hurdles, so he's plenty done, you know what I mean? And it was a bad race. Like as Tom said, it was a weak race for a stayers hurdle. Now, stayers hurdle can be good races some years not so good. Last year was one of the weaker ones. The fact that Cider Burley was able to win it, and you said Dashel Drasher was in the melting pot here. Maybe Teahupoo should have won it, but like, what should he have won it by? Length and a half, maximum.
Yeah.
I mean, so if he does have a bit in hand, it's very little. Plus, soft ground it looks a must for him as well. And okay, he got away with it last year. He got ground that was probably suitable. Will he get it again? That's another big question. Looking down through him, Gaelic Warrior, like when you're looking at him against Imperial Pass, like when he's gone up the line, well beat in that race, are you saying to yourself like you're going to win next year's stairs hurdle? I don't think so. I think he's quite short, Gaelic Warrior. Like he's got Mullins behind him and all that, but like won 3 mile in Punchestown, but Punchestown races are rubbish, absolute rubbish. And you have a look at the form of the races that he ran in Punchestown. They're absolute donkeys that he beat in that race. So he'll stay 3 miles, and he's a dangerous horse. But a horse I like as an outsider, if you're looking for an outsider in this race at the moment, is Irish Point. Same colours as Teahupoo, same connections. He's a novice coming out, going into open company. But to me, he was always a staying horse in the 2 mile. No, he won an entry over 2.5. And I could see him taking a step up to 3 miles. And I'd say he'd improve going up to 3 miles. And he could be the one that, if you're looking for a dark horse in this division, that's the one I'd go for.
There are horses, actually, you go down the bottom of the 365 market, which are at big prices quite interesting. Apple Away.
I like Apple Away. I was
He's
going to say
50s.
that.
Sorry.
I think Apple Away is running in the Mayor's Novice Chase soon, though.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she going
Is that the
chasing?
plan?
That's what I read. She's running in the Mayor's Novice if the ground
I think
permitting
that's
it.
surprising because
Yeah.
she won that race.
The Grand
the
Sefton or something like that. Yeah, whatever.
That went with the horse.
Stay Away Faye was back
Yeah,
in
exactly,
Durban.
yeah.
And what was the horse that she trained to win that race and then went on to win the Stayers Hurdle? I can't remember.
Hoyson won that race.
The ill-fated horse.
Yeah, the horse
years
that,
ago. People
yeah.
are screaming at
I can't remember.
Did
Did he win the Stayers Hurdle? I think he did.
Oh, man.
What horse is that?
It was
Brindisi Breeze,
Lucinda's
is it?
Brindisi
Yay,
Breeze.
good man.
Johnny Dineen, who knew?
Good man. Yeah.
Never watched a flat race in his life.
But I thought she was quite interesting because I thought she stayed and she was getting better all the time if she's going chasing. That's the problem. But I'm not as against Gaelic Warrior as Keels is. I mean, a horse that's finished twice second at 2 Cheltenham festivals, won a Leopardstown handicap over 2 miles off top weight around that tight inside track. I wouldn't be too worried about him going right. And I know he'll be better.
Card Bragg is done. Because again, it was a horse that you quite like, 3-card brag.
Yeah,
I think he's going over fences, isn't he?
He's another one that's going fencing.
3-card brag wants like Quagmire. You know what
He
I mean?
does.
He does.
He
He
does.
wants
But
Irish.
strong staying
He wants
horse.
Irish bad ground.
Yeah, I mean there were some.
We're talking about rags here,
There
aren't
were
we? So
some
we've got to try and...
pretty strong stayers, but like you're saying, you're looking at that Albert Bartlett. But Tom doesn't think it was a good race. I wouldn't be that negative about the race itself, but it's just all the good ones are going over fences.
They're all chasers. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you're looking for the Ballymore, and therefore Gaelic Warrior has to come into it. I understand why he's favourite. Like Johnny,
I do.
think he's too short.
Yeah.
I didn't get the impression. Not Johnny. I didn't get the impression he was going to pull miles clear with a third for another 3 furlongs.
No.
Like if Champ Kealy was going for the straight rod, you wouldn't back it at any price. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it anyway.
But again, he's another one that we're expecting that probably goes. So again, it's all to develop, isn't it, this?
But like Champ Kealy's, I know he's probably a Grade 1 winner, a token Grade 1 winner at the same time. I couldn't have him being a proper Grade 1 horse.
Tom, big jump off. You've been working at it. I was lucky enough pre-production and read it now in the piece. You like the French horse, don't you?
Well, I think he's interesting because I don't know anything about him.
Thelem.
Thelem is an interesting horse simply because he's English owned. He's got English owners. He's won the French Champion Hurdle. I don't know whether he's coming over, but
It's
there
the
are
plan,
vibes.
apparently. It is
but
the
the
plan.
plan is that he's going to come over, and it is not a strong division. And we saw some of Willie's go to the French Champion Hurdle and get lapped.
Yeah.
So he's got, those French horses are pretty good. We saw that with the one that came got a terrible ride in the
Gold.
Got a terrible ride in the.
I'm looking at you, John, because you seem to be able to pluck them out of the air. What's the ex?
Yeah, got a terrible ride in the Stayers, but won on trials day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know the
Cleave or
horse
whatever,
there. I wouldn't be surprised if he came over. He had a shot because they're not. If Sarda Burley's winning it, he's certainly better than Sarda Burley.
It does seem like we need a new star to emerge in this division, doesn't it? But it's going to be fun watching what it might be. All right. And look out for those novices that are staying basically over hurdles or going. And as Keel said, it's all still ahead of us, isn't it? One might not like fences, come back and it can win a Stayers hurdle. All right, that's that Gold Cup division next. Right, for many, the pièce de la résistance of a division comes up. It is the Gold Cup division, the staying chasers then, the big boys in the division. And of course, it was a serious Gold Cup last year, wasn't it? Of course, Galopin Des Champs did what we thought he was going to do. Brave Man's Game lit up the division prior to that. What will the novices measure up like? We'll get that from the panel after Pat gives us the market for the biggie.
Yeah, reigning champion, Galopin Des Champs, 2-1 favourite. Next in, Jerry Colombe at 7. Then a couple of wild cards. Shiskin at 10-1, Brave Man's Game at 12. Fast or Slow at 16-1. He ended the campaign beating the favourite. Remember at Punchestown. L'Empresse, people always give that one an each-way chance with rain. That's at 16. The Real Whacker, another one to consider. Korak Rambler, maybe he won't just be going straight for the Grand National. Maybe he'll be campaigned a bit more aggressively. But, they say you don't oppose champions. Galopin Des Champs, 2-1. Alboom Photo won this 2 years in a row, and I think Galopin is a much better horse than Alboom. I think he's a worthy favourite. 2-1 wouldn't float too many people's boats. I wouldn't know how much shorter he'll be on the day. So I wouldn't be backing him at 2-1. Likely winner, yes. Bet no.
This is a race at the start of the season which everyone tries to find the value in now, isn't it? Because it's very unusual, John, that you'd have an even money shot going into a Gold Cup. Even Best Mate, when he was dominating a week, sort of division would be 2-1, 7-4, and then back down or whatever. We know the path. Galopin Des Champs beating at Punchestown, 2-1 at the minute.
Yeah, look, to me, ante-post is all about your horse has, if you back a horse this far away anyway, he's got to be you've got to envisage a situation where a horse can be at about a third of that price. Do you know what I mean? So you're taking 2-1, can he be 4-6? Not inertly can he be 4-6 in the Gold Cup anyway. Do you know what I mean? So he's not a bet at 2-1 in my opinion anyway. At this stage, not saying he can't win, of course he can. And he won well last year, and on top of that, he didn't get a great trip last year, and everything, a lot of stuff conspired against him. He was behind early on, and he was out of his ground. And for a horse to anyone that opposed him, and I did oppose him on the day, you'd be very happy with the way things were going early on in the race. You know what I mean? So for him to come back in and maybe swing back on the bridle, turning in, and then you start to get worried. Would he beat Brave Man's Game again? You'd have to think so. Yeah, you'd have to think so.
This was one that I got right, lads. It was one of a few championship races that I got right at the festival last year. It wasn't my greatest year. This season, but I loved what I saw at the Dublin Racing Festival. And what went wrong at Punchestown? Was it the hard race at the Gold Cup? Because he was coming back again at the finish, wasn't he? So if anything, it looked to me, dare I say it, like he had a bit of a think about it.
No, I think he had a hard race.
Watch it back, Kills. You can do it on the members club. Watch it back now. He was coming
I've
back
seen
at
him
the finish.
going well, but he did that. He got himself in a bit of trouble at Cheltenham. He had a hard race at Cheltenham, harder than the winning distance would suggest. And horses that Gold Cup winners who had a hard race at Cheltenham and weren't the same again, a 10 a penny.
Yeah.
So he now has that to prove because, yes, he did put his head down, but I mean, you'd have expected more from him at Punchestown, and of course he's been beaten, so he's lost that air of invincibility. He's still a very, very good horse, but like Johnny said, you're gonna rush into back him. He's a very good. He's what I call a superior Gold Cup winner. I thought he was a very good Gold Cup winner, and if he comes back, he's very much the one to beat. I don't think Brave Man's Game can beat him around there. I think it'd be very, very interesting around Kempton, but I wouldn't imagine Galloping will be going there. So. Yeah, he's the one to beat. I do think Fast or Slow is quite interesting, though. Now I know we've said that. I've already said in this show that ignore all postseason form after Cheltenham. But it's an interesting horse because Martin Brassil, he inherits a horse from France, had one run in a chase and won it. Therefore, is not a novice. So he's got to come up with a plan. So he runs him straight into Grade 1 competition. It was against Galloping de Champs first time up, I think. Over trips too short. Gets him a handicap mark, nearly brings it off in the Ultima, gets beat by the subsequent winner of the Grand National, and then he beats Galloping de Champs. That's only his 5th start over fences. And since he had a handicap mark, he's suddenly become very, very good. So, he's an interesting horse, and obviously he handles Cheltenham. So, if you
Brilliant
want,
jumper
if there's a horse,
Fast or Slow,
superb jumper,
and
Yeah.
he's definitely going to relish an extra bit of distance too, I think, as well. So
we're all big fans of Martin Brassil's, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
think
he's a
I
brilliant
don't
trainer.
know.
One thing I'd say about the Gold Cup, Dave, is that people sort of gave it as a positive for the fact that he had a bad trip, Galopin des Champs. To me, I always look the other way. I think he could win a Gold Cup because of a bad trip. Tells me that the rest of them weren't great. Something went wrong on the day for Brave Man's Game, love him. Think he'll win the King George again. But 3 mile 2 furlongs at Cheltenham, he's never going to win a Gold Cup. He's got more chance of winning a Ryanair than a Gold Cup from my perspective. That's where I'd go with him. So I'm not thinking that the Gold Cup last year was a brilliant race. I think he's a brilliant winner and he's a brilliant horse, but I'm not sure the race. Lots of horses ran badly, didn't they? Henry de Bromhead's 2 ran really badly, didn't they?
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm sort of as Keel said, he had a hard race. The jury's out for me. I like Jerry Colombe as a horse going forward this season. Yeah. I think he is a superstar waiting to happen when he gets 3 miles 2 furlongs.
The Brown advisory still stings, doesn't it?
How he lost that. How he lost that. It's a million he lost that. I mean, that horse that beat him will never beat him again, the Real Whacker, surely. He's a brilliant jumper. I love the Real Whacker.
But they should have gone a bit sooner, shouldn't they? I think we can all agree on that. It was just the way
the race went.
And he wasn't great 2 out from memory as well.
I loved him
but
at
Aintree. He looked just amazing,
I mean,
didn't he?
I know Johnny's not one for times and figures and all these sort of things, but he went round there faster than the 2.5 milers that day.
Yeah,
he was really good that day. I think he's a special horse.
He's a brilliant horse, Jerry. He's the one I'd go for right now, anyways.
100%.
Yeah.
You find it harder to find a bigger fan of Jerry than me.
He's not slow, is he? I mean,
he's not slow.
He needs to be a stayer. He needs to be this, but he's got pace. He has showed that. I took him on at Sandown when he ran over 2.5.
Which showed he can go on decent ground.
I thought this horse is going to be a slow old boat staying chaser, isn't he? But he isn't a slow old boat, and I think that's what you need. The days of your out and out gallopers winning Gold Cups are few and far between these days, aren't they?
Yeah. That day at Sandown, he beat a horse called Balco Coastals of Nicky's. Do you remember? It was a horse they've always thought the absolute world of. It absolutely broke him that day, Balco Coastal. He's not.
I just think he's the archetypal now horse for me, Jerry Colombe. That's going to go.
It's where he goes is interesting because he's obviously been ante-post favourite for
Downwall kick-off.
Well, yeah, he's been anti-post. He's been anti-post favourite.
I saw him sharp price for the one in Haydock. No.
Yeah, he's been anti-post favourite.
That's interesting because that's Brave Man's Game's target
for the Betfair Chase at Haydock. Now, Brave Man's Game's going there. Protectorat's going there. So it's going to be interesting. But the only thing is, it is a case of whose Gold Cup is it? It'll be Protectorat's. It won't be Brave Man's Game. It won't be Jerry Colombe's. Right? And the thing is, he's mentioned it. He's still going to need soft ground for him to bother coming over, I think. And I don't think he absolutely needs soft ground, Jerry Colombe. But I think that they don't want to be running him on quicker ground.
No.
So the water at the moment, hey.
And if he gets, exactly. If he gets, if he gets ground to his liking a damn well, that's where Gordon Elliott mops up every year. You'd imagine he will end up going there. So that's where you think he'll start, and he'll be a short price. He'll win easy.
He'll have to go for the Irish Gold Cup or the
he will.
one.
Yeah, I could see him going to Haydock rather than Down Royal. I think because I'd say Conflated got a run for that Down Royal race the other day.
It looked it, didn't it? He has won it with Don Cossack, of course, though. So
Conflated must have go left-handed, though, does he?
All right, do we? Yeah, but we might get away with
it.
I've never got him right Conflated ever.
I
thought he was I remember you fancied him for the Gold Cup a bit this time last year, didn't you?
He's not that good, is he?
No.
He'll be one of Gordon's 12 in the National, won't he?
He probably will be in the National. Yeah, look, we've got some great staying races along the way. The Cold Gold Cup, as is now known, the old Hennessy, we like races like this. That doesn't seem to be the springboard for a Gold Cup horse anymore, does it? It's more a national horse,
Yeah, I mean, it's a different game these days, and there's so many races for these graded horses. Why, they've got to make a bit of it. These horses are very good now, these jumpers. I mean, in the old days, you used to get, the pedigrees were rubbish, weren't they? You used to get really slow horses winning Gold Cups. Nowadays,
look at the winner. The one horse we didn't ask Joe about, Royal Pagaille.
Well, you wanted to get that in, didn't you?
I wanted it in,
Yeah, because he will go for the
right chance.
He's going to go to.
He's going to got a right chance at Newbury. Yeah, he was going to go there last year. It was his preferred option over the Betfair Chase, but then he got niggling injuries, and they couldn't put a saddle on him, and they just left him alone. And he got a beat fairway in the King George, but he still finished second, 3 mile round there. It would be sharp enough for him these days, and I think he's absolutely tailor-made for Newbury.
The tractor.
If it's tractor weather.
Yeah.
Now, the ground has been really fast for that race for the last couple of years, hasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? And obviously they can't water in the winter, so it was rock hard, if you remember, for the Betfair Hurdle. But we've had such a wet winter. Half of the south of England's going to be underwater tomorrow as well, isn't it?
King George, anyone thought about that?
Royal Pagaille. Ran in it last year, didn't he?
Just as a spectacle. He ran very well, and he does his comeback last year.
That was his comeback last year. No, Braveman's game will take the world of beating in the King George race.
He's another Clan de Sopo, isn't he? I don't mean that.
So I think there's a few you could mention. You could, I'm not giving up on Lon Presse yet. I love that horse.
Well, he was one that took on the handicap route, and that's what we wanted to see.
I think that is a really special horse if he's back right. Speaking to Venetia last year, there wasn't a massive injury. It was something she expected him to come back from. He's still a young horse, he is. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed with him when he won. I think he's a proper horse, him.
I was filling my boots on him for the King George.
Yeah. It doesn't go that way round.
It goes that way, does it? I think it is that simple.
And if we're talking about the Coral Gold Trophy at Newbury, you've got to mention John Joe's horse. That was third.
Oh, Monbeg Genius.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because the three of them, the Ultima was Korak Rambler, went on to win the National. Fast or Slow that went on to beat Galopin Des Champs and him. And the three of them were
he didn't jump very well in that, did he either?
I know he's a good jumper. He jumped brilliantly. He's a very good jumper.
I can see you purring about this, Tom.
I like that. Well, he's just got to be well handicapped, hasn't he?
Yeah.
On that. He went up, I think, £5 for that. Well, the other two are now rated Stone Sire.
Right.
So he's a proper horse, that Monbeg Genius.
Can we talk about Korak Rambler?
Yeah, you definitely can. Love him.
Could he be the horse that shows the National for what it is these days? Noble Yates had a go, didn't he? He won at 50 to 1. He was near. I thought he'd run well in the Gold Cup. Could we now be talking about the National? The National used to be a race where you win the Grand National, that's it. You're done. Poor Many Clouds had a great go, didn't he? Coming back and trying to win the top level staying chases. Now that you can jump through the top of these chases, and it's not the test it was, are we talking about a horse that's only just getting going?
Well, I don't know. I think Johnny was the same. It was one of the only horses I got right at the Cheltenham Festival was Korak Rambler, me.
Yeah.
I at the Cheltenham, and I think they were actually using that as a prep for Aintree. Yeah, I don't think he was at his best that day.
No.
He absolutely bolted up in the National, didn't he? You could call him the winner, like half a circuit out. It was like an old-fashioned National, where your eyes are drawn to one horse the whole way round.
Yeah.
He's a proper horse, that. And he's obviously got Cheltenham form. I don't know. He's got a long way to go to get to Galopin Des Champs and Jerry Colomb.
Yeah.
But he could finish third.
Couple of other horses I want to mention before we
move on. He's not a horse for a stayer. He travels, doesn't he? He travels out the back, you know what I mean? And therefore, you give him a chance. Horses will fall away from him. You get a decent sized field and they run at it. he'd be charging up the hill faster than most, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he looks at the cameras, doesn't he? Lucinda Russell says, has a look at the ambulance, doesn't look like he's enjoying life, and then Turbo kicks in. A couple of other horses in. Shishkin, he's only 10 to 1. He is a polarising horse, isn't he, Shishkin?
Yeah, he's big, great, but he's going to be 10, isn't he?
He doesn't jump properly.
He doesn't jump.
He's
he
a
doesn't
beautiful animal.
He used to jump
I
properly.
like
He used to be a brilliant jumper. I don't know what's happened. I think his back probably hurts him.
Yeah,
somewhere
he's-
along the
yeah.
line.
The vibes through the summer are that he's absolutely
you know,
thrived
he's
again,
one of
so-
those. He's one of those. Like, you know, he's managed to win races last year despite not jumping the way he used to jump, and that's because he's got a ton of courage in him. Like, you know, what I mean, even when he finished well beaten in the Single Creek, he still tried his heart out to the line.
If he
Like, you know what I
jumps
mean?
like
But
he does in the Ryanair, he'll be pulled up.
He's got the miles. He's got the miles on the clock, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, and he's going to be 10. And
But
that's
again, he could be a proper player in the King George, I think, if they wanted to go that way. Could be his FA Cup final this year, couldn't it,
But
potentially?
doesn't he look like a 4-miler all of a sudden? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was only his stamina got him home in Aintree, and only for a man fluffing the last, I don't think he would even have caught him, you know, that kind of way. Like, I could see him getting lost around a track like Kempton even.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was. I wouldn't say it was his course.
He
either.
thinks he's a king. Honestly, you go and meet him, and he is the poster boy, and they love him. And the people that have had him all summer just they cannot speak highly enough of him. Another horse that I wanted to talk about. What are we doing with Banbridge this year? Is he going to step up to you? He's your horse, I would call it
He
that.
needs it to stop raining, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
That's
But
just
again,
that's just the issue.
He's a horse like fast or slow that turns
he's
up
like,
on the day, isn't he?
you know, I think he could easily win a Ryanair if the ground was good. But I mean, if there's any soft in that, I wouldn't have much interest in him. I've got to be honest. I think he's absolutely 100% ground dependent.
Yeah.
All right, okay. It's an exciting division, isn't it? If we're all Jerry Colomb at the prices.
Well, I wouldn't back him at 7 to 1 now. No, but I do think he's the now horse. That's
No,
gonna be
If he
top.
does what he does through the winter, Tom, 7 to 1's going to look mighty big, isn't it, on the day? Because he will be 3-ish, 7 to 2, 4 to 1. I mean,
It all depends on if he turns up against Gallop Champ and
Just remember, you do not have to focus on one meeting in March. Let's enjoy him as they come along. He's a really good horse. He's an excited horse to be interested in now, not just in 5 months' time. Let's watch him. Let's watch him develop. Come on.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if he wins down Royal, say, and then he goes and wins somewhere at the
Yeah, it could
Dublin
be,
Racing
but it doesn't
Festival,
mean you have
then-
to have a bet
No,
now,
but
does it? You
people
don't
are
have to
out
have a
there
bet
wanting
now.
it. But if
Yeah, but they might
what I'm
do.
saying is,
Wouldn't you rather
Champion
back him
Hurdle,
at
no.
3 to 1 on the day?
Champion Hurdle, no. Stayers Hurdle,
knowing
no.
all the
Queen Mother Champion Chase, all right, John Bond we think is overpriced. I think Jerry Colomb at what, 7, 8 to 1, whatever Pat said he was. I think that is valuable.
If I had to have a
Yeah,
bet now,
yeah.
I'd have a couple of quid on fast or slow, but it'd be tiny amounts.
All right, well, there you go. We've got a little bit of spice there as well. Gold Cup division. We're all looking forward to it. Really happy now on the big jump off. Another powerhouse owner, this time more domestic. And Max McNeill joins me from his home. Max, great to have you back on. Exciting times.
Oh, great to be back on. Thanks. Yeah, it is exciting times. Always, as I just said to you there in the warm up, always exciting this time of year. You know, every horse has got a story to tell, or else he won't be on the books. And you know, let's hope they all perform and stay fit. More importantly.
Well, veterans like ourselves, Max, of course, you've got your horses that have kind of reached their peak. We always associate you with exciting bumper horses, novice hurdlers coming through. You had your share of them, of course, horses that can run in some big ones. You know, you've spread your trainers about traditionally. I always joke with Max, guys, watching out there, that he's the hardest owner to find a list of horses to go to war with in the interviews, because you've got so many partnerships out there. You like involving your friends and pals that you've got and different sponsors and all that sort of thing. You're a big sponsor yourself, Max, of course. Ultima, always have been throughout the years. And it's fair to say that at the end of last season, you took a slightly different view about jumping life.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. We just had too many horses, and as you get a bigger owner, yeah, you know, you sort of get put more horses, and you know, you turn a lot down, but you know, you end up buying more than probably you should. And you would just, you know, it's easy to say yes in many ways, and buying them is easy, but getting rid of them, you know, and finding them in a new home and everything, it isn't quite so easy. So we just had to take stock of where we were, to be honest. And, you know, you mentioned the co-owners. I mean, I love the game, but, you know, I've got to make it financially work for us. So, you know, if you see two nice horses, for example, you know, and you want to buy them both, you know, if you buy them both outright, it's obviously double the price. So, you know, it's nice to get good friends involved and new friends as well, because I've met a load of people, a load of my partners actually through racing, and it just makes sense financially, really.
Well, anyone that knows anything about the jumps game knows that Max is one of the great owners to go and have a drink with. You're always happy to talk to everyone. You absolutely love the game. Your daughter's going to be, it's a family operation now, so the pressure's on, isn't it? Your daughter Ella's going to be sort of steering the ship a little bit this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I think sort of you're referring to sort of our racing manager and agent and things, and still remain good friends with them both. But it was just a case that, it was just getting too big, and I just needed to cut my cloth according to cut my coat according to my cloth.
Yeah.
And I said, look, we need to change things. I think that really, first and foremost, it was a financial decision. And secondly, I wanted, Ella, my daughter, loves racing. She runs a Chelsea Thoroughbreds Jump Syndicate, and that's going well for her. And, she can organise quite a lot of the stuff that we have to do. We're having a lot of co-owners. A lot of those we brought into the game, as well as talking to the trainers, as well as me. And she helps me day to day with running what is, sort of over 30, mainly half shares of horses, and keeping everybody in touch and doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, which she's really good at. And as well as that, she's doing a presenting role and doing all sorts of stuff. So she loves the game. So it made sense, really.
Oh, I'm fully aware that chip off the old block, and this seat is just tendered, I think, for the future. Absolutely, yeah. Anyone that's met
I don't think so.
Well, everyone that's met Ella knows that she can talk very, very well. All right, so let's let the talking stop from Dave Orton now, and let's look at what you're refreshed and excited by this season. Of course, I thought we've just had the Cesarewicz go by, our old friend. I thought 2 Out Tritonic was going to come and get you another set, Max, and it shows the fire still burns. We're looking forward to him going back over the sticks, I assume.
Yeah, that's right, David. I think with Tritonic, he's pretty well. The handicap has got a bit of a grip on him, and if he's going to win one of these races, and obviously that's a tough one to win, he's got to have everything in his favour, or at least be competitive. And he was competitive, as you say, for a very long time. He had a cracking race, given a great ride by Rosser Ryan. But the ground went against us over that extreme distance. I think if it had stayed good to firm, good, I think he would have, potentially troubled the scorers. But yeah, it just shows you, as you say, the fire still burns bright in his, within him. We've got to decide what to do. He's come down now to 97, and when you consider his third this season of 101 at Royal Ascot, we're getting into the stage now where he could be sort of competitive next year. So we have to have a think about it. But Kingy's actually quite keen to and thinks he'll have the scope to jump a fence. So we're just going to have a look at that option, see how he schools. I'm on the fence. Pardon the pun. I'm on the fence a little bit, but I'd always be guided by Alan on this, and because he loves the horse. And look, if he does, I think you've just got to let him see how he gets on. But I think, as far as his flats career concerned, I think next year he'll be a bit more competitive off that kind of mark.
Well, that's interesting. And if you think back, it reminds you of Edwardstone, doesn't it? Of course, of who Kingy trains, as we all know, probably the stable star there. He took a little while to go as a novice. He was your older than average novice. So, okay, Tritonic over a fence. Well, Max, I'm with Alan. I'd love to see this. Let's talk about some other horses, some really exciting horses. 3-Card Bragg went into the Cheltenham Festival. We thought we were going to get you that Grade 1 novice, and he still ran really well to be 5th there, didn't he?
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to run through them, but there were excuses why he didn't run so quite, the things didn't go as well that day. But, you can make excuses, and I'm sick of making excuses. The horse is good and the horse is going to win. It wasn't our day that day, but nonetheless, he's a horse that we remain very excited about. Gordon's excited about him. He's with Sean Doyle over the summer, summered well, which is important. And he put on some weight, put on some condition. And I think now that I spoke to Gordon the week before last, and he's really happy with the way it's progressing. So, he's one of our, if not the most exciting novice chaser we've got this season.
What else is in the novice chase ranks for McNeill and partners?
Well, one I would put in an equally high bracket is Persian Time. I think Persian Time, we made a huge mistake going to Cheltenham Festival. I won't go there, but we shouldn't have gone. But we did. But then he ran a cracking race in Ayr. On another day, he'd have won that race. And incidentally, the horse that did win that race was voted, I noticed, best novice hurdler of the year in the on the McCoy's, that awards dinner they have there at Cheltenham. So that, and really we think we should have won that. So I've spoken to Nicky throughout the summer. He couldn't be happy with him. He's working with some good horses, I see. And, went to Nicky's open day and he spoke very highly of him. And I think, again, as a novice chaser, I think he's one we're very excited about. He may run over hurdles first time out, but I think, his plan this year was to go novice chasing.
I'm just using the Racing Post. That was Hugo's new horse, wasn't it, that beat him at Ayr, of course. Nichols is
Hugo's new horse, yeah.
One thing that we always associate you with, Max, although you sort of spread the love around, you love having horses with the top trainers, don't you? And of course, Paul Nicholls has got the one that we're expecting to be pretty decent. You were never going to go to Cheltenham within the water side. And now all of a sudden people that were just working away while listening to this and beavering away have shot up with attention because we're all waiting to hear how he's summered.
He's summered great. And funny enough, I saw him, he was schooling in Paul's Ring there on Monday. And he just looked a class act, really. He just glides over the hurdles. And, compared to another horse I've got down there who sort of, would be going novice hurdling as well. In the water side, looked a decent pro. He's one we're obviously very excited about. He's a bit of a talking horse. I see the horse that was third in his bumper at Sandown ran well at Fosslas on Sunday. Again, it's one of Johnny's horses, Johnny Delahaye's. I can't remember the name of it, but he ran well. Something in May.
Yes, wrapped up in May.
Wrapped up in May. That's it.
Yeah.
Wrapped up in May. So, he ran well at Fosslas. Look, I would say if we was going to pick one horse that was really could take me to the very, very top table this season, it could be him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. It was wrapped up in May and 10 lengths. Tom, of course, Lacey's, who thinks quite a bit of him, was second as well. What sort of distance are we looking at for him? Is Paul thinking this might be a Tolworthy type campaign, or?
I'm guessing we had a brief chat about it, but it'd be 2.5 miles.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good to know. All right. Right, Max, come and give us some unexposed names. Have you still got horses with Ollie Murphy as well?
Yeah, got a good team with Ollie. Very good team, actually. Good team, and touchwood, they're all healthy. We had a couple of issues last year, all bar one, actually, a horse called Fingal Bridge. Probably won't see him this season. Very small, niggly injury, but he's won his bumper at Chepstow, but he won't be here this season. But aside of him, we've got a nice horse called Butch, who won at Southall earlier this month, over 3 miles. He had a troubled campaign for us last year. He had bad ulcers at the start of it, and we just couldn't get him right. He did win a race at Utah, but Ollie was never happy with him because he didn't summer particularly well either last year. But this year he's been brilliant, and Paddy Brennan had him, and he says he's become more of a man. He's bulked up. He's taken more command of the horses in the field, whereas before he was a bit timid. And really that showed in his performance, if you like, at Southall. He looked really professional that day, and Sean Bowen and the team were very happy with him, and he could go to Cheltenham in November.
Right, okay, that's great news. And I can't let you go without asking about one of my favourites. He didn't really work out for him last season after that horrible start in the Coral Gold Cup, the old Hennessy. Was 3 under through 5. I was going to get this impact. He's had wind surgery. His sign-off run in the Scottish National was a good one. There's a big one in him, isn't there?
Well, you'd again, I think he's in a little bit of the grip of the handicapper. The conditions need to be absolutely perfect, but you're right, David. I think the run at he ran a decent race in the Ultima, which, if you think about it, that was some race, wasn't it? With the Gold Cup, the Grand National winner. But then the second horse beat in the Gold Cup 1 and 2 at Punchestown. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And so that was some form in that race. And then he went to and ran a cracker. He's finishing 4th. Carrying, if not top weight, it was close to top weight. It sort of sets him up nicely for the season. He could either go for the Badger Ales or the Coral Gold Cup again. I mean, I love the Coral Gold Cup. Paul has got the sort of Badger Ales in mind. Either or for me, if we're going to pick one of those up, maybe if he runs one of his higher rated chasers in the sort of Badger Ales, that might stand us in good stead. So, yeah, and he's actually, if you talk about the horses I own sort of with others, he's the last one we own outright.
Is that right? He's the only one that came up on my list. That'll be why on the Racing Post. Okay, so it is hard to know, Max, your entire team. And what have you got the checkbook out for a few in the summer, ex-point to pointers, anything like that?
Yeah, we've been ducking and diving. We've got a nice team of horses, actually. Got a nice horse going with Ollie called Pleasington. He was going to run in a bumper last season, but just got a slight setback. And he runs with a horse that Ella sort of manages called Jury, who they also like, and they've been working together. So those are two nice young horses to look forward to. I've got the big horse that I bought in the summer in the spring was Quebecois with Paul, pointer from Ireland with Sean Doyle. I've got a couple of partners involved with him. So that's going to confuse you even more. But he's one we're looking forward to, and he's ticking all the boxes according to Paul. And I spoke to him yesterday about him, or Monday yesterday, and he was very happy with him. While I've got you, the other horses I guess we're excited about, who's been working well, Masacho, North Lodge, and Thunder Rock, of course, who sort of knocked on the door of Grade 1 company.
Yeah,
but he's got that good graduation chase at Carlisle 3 weeks last Monday would be his first target.
Is he going to go Paddy Power Gold Cup?
Let's see how he gets on at Carlisle. We'll just have to see. He's not the greatest jumper in the world, if the truth be told. Would you see how he goes at Carlisle? He might just stick over hurdles. But I'll have to have a chat with Ollie. We're going to take one race at a time with him. We just have to mind him a little bit. But he's not I just think in that big handicap might not suit him. But if he runs well at Carlisle, it's certainly an option.
He's got form with likes of Jerry Colomb, wasn't he? We saw him in the Dipper against the real whacker, horses like that. And again, if you watch back that finish in the Dipper, he's absolutely flying, having looked a million on the far side. He's a very, very interesting horse as well, isn't he? North Lodge, of course, finally coming back then, Max. Yeah, he's a fascinating animal.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring him up because he had a very small injury last season, nothing big, but, it was, are we or aren't we, And then we just, Key just said to me, it's too good horse to muck about with. So we gave him the season off, but he summered well, got him in went to pre-training with Jamie McGee, who we put a lot of our horses with. And he did a piece of work at the weekend, and he's really coming on nicely now. You'll probably see him late November. Would probably run over hurdles first and maybe, hopefully, go for a Novice Chase campaign. We'll have to speak to Kingy and see what he's thinking.
Well, viewers, if your trackers weren't full, they are now. Max, always brilliant to talk to you. I sense you a real refreshment about you going into this season. I'm excited for you. We all here at the Racing Post. Thanks ever so much, as usual, for being so helpful.
That's a pleasure, Dave, anytime. It's always great speaking to you.
Earners Members Club offer then 50% off if you want to get involved ahead of the jump season. That's how you do it. Wasn't it great to speak to Max McNeill? Great talker. And he's going to lead us into our next section because now we look at the Novice Hurdlers that the panel are looking forward to seeing this season. You think of all the old bumper horses Max was talking about in the Waterside. John won at Ascot and then went to Sandown and seemingly buzzing about that. You could have a list as long as your arm, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And from an ante-post point of view or whatever you want to like to it, you're more likely to come in from under the radar in the Novice Hurdlers anyway, in particular than like this time last year. No one heard of Imperial Pass for starters. So the French recruit or a pointer making step in, or plus you have the bumper horses as well. So it's tricky now is to try to find one. There is a whole host of very good Novice Hurdlers, though. I would have thought.
I suppose we have to talk about and start with last year's champion bumper. Going into last year's champion bumper, I remember you writing in every publication, talking every show we did, how bad the previous year's one was. A dream to share, winning machine. We were going to see him at Punchestown at the October meeting, and hold up meant he probably didn't have to go there. We've at least seen the third. He beat Factor File, of course, in the same course. It was 1-2 for JP. But we've seen Captain Teague come out, haven't we, Kills, in the Persian War?
Yeah, he's come out and, win a Grade 2 first time up. Probably wouldn't have been the best Grade 2 in the world, given the time of year. But he still had to do it. He looked like an out-and-out stayer to me. I think if he ends up at Cheltenham, it'll probably be in something like the Albert Bartlett. I mean, he's obviously a very, very interesting horse, isn't he?
Off air, Johnny said he'd have more to do at November Newbury.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, they weren't brilliant. They were never going to be stars. The ones that they were up against. I know that they think a fair bit of the Skelton horse.
Yeah.
But I mean, otherwise, it was an easy enough Grade 2 to be taken. But obviously, he's going to have penalties now for the rest of the season.
But it gave us a handle on the bumper, didn't it? First and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bumper's okay. I mean, look, you expect these horses to win their maiden hurdles. I mean, it was a surprise last year, so how many didn't?
Yeah.
We don't know how good the form is.
This is a tricky section for you, Tom, because you don't watch a great deal of bumpers, do you? I imagine.
Oh, look, the only thing you can say is that good luck to the British trainers. Trying to find a horse to compete in this race. What was it? The first one of the first 10 home in the bumper, British trained. First 7 home in the Triumph, Irish trained.
Yeah.
First 4 home in the Ballymore, Irish trained. 9 of the first 10 home in the Boodles, Irish trained. You know what I mean? The British trained. Stay Away Faye did win, to be fair, but he's going chasing.
Yeah, we'll get to Novice Chasers.
I don't see any chance. I mean, Nicky Henderson, for example, had 1 horse run at Cheltenham in a Novice Hurdle last year, 150 to 1 pulled up. Max McNeill's horse, Persian Time.
Yeah, I mean, Max talks about, and he's quite happy about him. He said he shouldn't have run there, basically. But
so basically, how you can find a British trained horse to compete in the Novice Hurdles, I think it's very hard at this stage. Henderson will have something.
Yeah.
Nichols will have something, but I don't know it.
What do we make of a Dream to Share as a horse? Because he's obviously flatbred, isn't he? A lot said about he needs the ground. It was probably the worst ground he'd run on at Cheltenham, wasn't it? But we saw how good he was, later on as well. He's a machine, isn't he? It's just whether they go on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and he's flatbred, which is a slight worry for going over hurdles. Will he go on? Some bumper horses do and some don't. It's not exact science. Look, you'd like to see him run over hurdles. But as Paul said, like every one of these horses should win a maiden hurdle anyway. It's when they go into when they start coming together and maybe in a Royal Bond or maybe Christmas in Leopardstown, you'll see exactly, you get a pecking order. There's some sort of a semblance of a pecking order from that point. But Dream to Share, look, he's a smart horse, of course he is, but whether he's going to be a top jumps horse is another question.
A lot of talk about horses like Ballyburn, isn't there, of course, which was on the lip.
Ballyburn, Tully
Hill's got to be interesting, isn't it?
Shepley Park's horse.
To go straight from, where was it, Gowan to run against a Dream to Share at Punchestown. He's obviously very good.
We've got Fernie Hollows.
I do know of one Paul Nicholls horse, a walk in the park half brother to Did They Leave You Out Too, called Regent's Stroll, who hasn't run anywhere yet. He's owned by Chris Giles. Yeah, he's owned by Chris Giles. He's going nicely apparently. Probably run at Newbury. So, could be anything.
You've already got his 5-point plan, have you, Kels? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Doesn't it look like JP has made a big effort to get a hold of a lot of good young horses now? Do you know what I mean? And I'd like a bit like Mirrors Zero West was a horse that won a bumper in Naas. Unlike most Naas winners, where there's usually stamina influenced races where the stairs. Like this thing came up like John Wayne, you meant, sitting up on top of it, like he won in a walk. You wouldn't even see horses win bumpers like that in Naas too often. And same with Down Memory Lane. That's a good horse too. That is a very good horse.
I like the form of that race, John.
Yeah.
Watch that back. If you're not sure about any of these horses we're talking about, get on your Racing Post website or get on your app. They're all out there. You can watch all the videos of these horses. Yeah, Gordon's got one there, hasn't he?
That's Down Memory Lane. That's Elliot. And Mirrors West is one. They're two high-class horses.
We've got our 5 to follows coming up, and one of them has made it, and I had to chop one of them off, but I think Down Memory Lane.
Still doing mine.
Oh, yeah. Well, this might help you, this section, of course. And again, get your novices to follow. These are the ones that the racing Twitter loves, this section. Trying to find the best bump horse coming out for the novices, what really excites them. Let's move on from that a little bit. But Pat, just give us the price of the Dream to Share, if you wouldn't mind, Pat, for the Supreme with 365 right now.
Yeah, he's our 9-2 favourite for the race, and rightly so. But as Johnny says, there's quite a few question marks, with a flat racing pedigree. But, he certainly looks the part from what we've seen. And I suppose it's pretty much traditional, isn't it? You make the Cheltenham bumper winner favourite for the Supreme. But there's plenty others to consider. But I do agree with the Tom thinking about you start in Ireland first as your location to try to get the winner of this race. But an interesting runner I thought is Ballyburn. 2 from 2. He pulled like a train in both of them, but he stayed on powerfully to the line. he's probably about the same price for all three novices at the moment. So whether he goes 2, 2, 5 or 3 is up to the connection. So I think Ballyburn is one of those, if you had a market, to win any race at the Cheltenham Festival, he might be of interest. But I've been to this funeral a few times before where you back the horse in the wrong race and he ends up winning the other one. So we wait and see how he goes. But a lot of these horses, they're going to be kept apart and they're going to have all these ones by the name before they do eventually meet up. So it'll be fascinating.
All right, well, good luck whichever way you're playing ante-post. If you're getting involved there, hopefully some helps and some exciting horses to look out for. Who are you looking forward to seeing over a fence this year in a novice race? Obviously, Marine National has to be the first one to go to, right? Unbeaten. The Royal Bond, I wasn't sure about that Royal Bond form because he fluffed the last. And obviously, Irish Point has shown it to be very good, and it has worked out, actually, hasn't it? I did a Cincy run. I was a bit surprised by how well it worked out. But he didn't half look the real deal in the Supreme. I would have had no problems about him having a crack at Constitution Hill in a champion hurdle, but yet they're electing to go over fences, we think. Tom?
Well, he looked very good, didn't he? And Facile Vega did nothing but boost the form, didn't he, afterwards? I think they're two very, very good horses, that are going to go to chase. I mean, they'll probably meet at the Dublin Racing Festival or something like that, or at Leopardstown over Christmas or somewhere beforehand. And then that might mean Facile Vega will go up in trip. That could possibly happen, couldn't it? Vega, obviously 2.5 miles might be his game. So yes, there's plenty of water under the bridge. But Marine National looked superb, didn't he, in the Supreme? I think Kills was saying Impere Pass might have beaten him over 2 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive Impere Pass fan. I mean, I'm certainly not knocking Marine National. He's a very good horse. He got a very confident ride at Cheltenham as well, didn't he? I mean, it looked like Facile Vega was going to get first run, and they both looked to be going equally well. And he's just sitting in behind him, saying, "Well, I'm going to wait until after the last." I think he was very confident. So he's a very good horse. It used to be the case years ago that some of the slower matures would come through, but with the lack of competitiveness in racing now, it's more likely that the stars in the Novice Hurdlers turn out to be stars in Novice Chasers as well. And I think that's one of the things that's changed over the years. Mr. Policeman's very interesting though. We've obviously heard from Joe, so I'll leave that for him as one of the horses to follow. But you can tell how excited he is about him, and obviously that one run over hurdles tells you that he's a very good horse. So yeah, but there are plenty. There are plenty that could come through, and we're not just, we can't just talk about the 2 mile division. I know Tom's not totally sold on the Albert Bartlett, but I think Stay Away Faye is going to be a lovely chaser. I think Corbett's Cross is going to be a lovely chaser. They're going to go really well.
The forgotten about Hermes Allen.
Hermes Allen, yeah, he could. And I was actually looking for one whose name I can't remember now. Apologies to producer for using my phone because it really annoys him.
I've been doing it throughout the show, Gills. It's impossible not to.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at what I wrote because there was one that I quite liked from a smaller yard.
Well, while you do that, let's go to Pat. Pat, give me the price on Marine National first and foremost for the Arkle, and then I'll come to Johnny. I want to work with him on that.
Yeah, Marine is 5-2 as things stand at the moment. Second favourite, Facile Vega at 5, and then the much hyped Mr. Policeman at 10-1. So I think if you're a Marine National fan, you probably know this is the only race he's going to go in. He won't be stepping up to the longer trips. He is a pure 2-miler. So I think you're pretty much on safe ground there. But one I like is In the Pocket. I think he's an interesting horse. Maybe you'd be interested to see what the guys think about that one's claims. I'd imagine he'd be going for the Turners, but he looks a real prospect to me.
Betting editor Keith Melrose, the first mention for Keith, will be helping that happens because I think he's got him down as the Turners winner already. Andrew de Bromhead's horse. Marine National, John, do you see any time between these races?
Well, he's had a big gap from the Royal Bond to Cheltenham, but they could have taken in a race. There's no real proof to suggest.
If you look at his career, it is quite well spaced out.
Yeah, maybe so.
I just looked at that and I thought, will we see him in Dublin? That's what, because the Irish Arkle has become the key race now, right? Going into it. So will he turn up there?
I fancy he'll win a Novice Chase. I'll go for a Novice Chase somewhere and surely win it, and then run in Christmas in Leopardstown. And I'd say you could see a face-off against Facile Vega there. You won't have to
obviously fancy their chances.
You won't have to wait till the Dublin Racing Festival for the two of them to meet. I would have thought anyway.
Right.
Maybe Mr. Policeman will take him on, but I would say Marine National is a certainty to run in Leopardstown at Christmas, all going well.
What about British horses going over? We mentioned Stay Away Faye, we mentioned a couple of other Paul ones. We like a Lucinda Russell horse, don't we?
Yeah, well, it's a long shot, but Gio Vinco, who won up at Perth beating a horse of Lucy Wadham's who got quite close to stay away Fay at Doncaster.
Hurricane Harvey?
Hurricane Dawn.
Hurricane, yeah, one of those.
Something like that. But he was really
You'd hope you
impressive.
get close to Hurricane Harvey, or not that close. Maybe a furlong clear. Wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Bless Hurricane Harvey. Got a mention on the big jump off.
I think he's a very interesting horse. I mean, there's not many better trainers than Lucinda Russell and
Yeah.
Pete Skoo with their staying chasers.
Well, a Hoyson yours showed what you can do, right? With
Rack
him.
Rambler. There's
Yeah.
loads.
This
loads
is a
of-
monster, I think, this horse.
Very good horse. It's got a load of potential. I'm also a big Corbet's Cross fan. I don't think he was going to win the Albert Bartlett. I think it was millions to win the Albert Bartlett when he ran out. I thought he was getting tired.
Yeah.
I think he'll drop down in trip because he won a 2 mile graded grade 2 chase. I think he's interesting for the Turners myself. He might bump into Facile Vega if he can't beat Marine Nationale, which could make that a good race for a change. But I think he's a very interesting novice chase. I think Emmett Mullins can do anything. You know,
I wonder will they keep Corbett's Cross in the pocket?
separate. Yeah, they could do.
I like in the pocket. He's
I
one
think
of
the pocket is a good thing for the Turners myself.
Yes.
actually.
Do you?
In the pocket?
Yeah.
Oh, first mention of a good thing.
way too early for that. But he's a lovely horse, isn't he? Definitely. One I was trying to think of, his name I couldn't remember, was Colonel Harry, trained by
Yes.
Jamie Snowden. He was going
Major
over the fences.
Snowdens.
He approved with everyone, pretty much everyone last year, apart from the one where he won a soft race. Obviously second to Nemean Lion at Kelso. Nemean Lion's come out and won the Welsh champion hurdle, isn't he? You know, so, and he's a front runner with a good attitude. And if he takes the fences, I think he could rate an awful lot higher. I'm not saying he'll end up Arkle class or anything like that. I think his top RPI was only 136, but I mean, I think, you know, he's an interesting horse going forwards, definitely. Another that needs to be mentioned is the French is he French? Ex-French. Il est Français, whose Grade 1 winner over hurdles in France had his chase debut
I think his name probably tells you if he's French or not.
in September. No, but he's coming over.
Good moaning.
He's supposed to be coming over.
Tom George's horse.
Yeah,
Noel George.
Yeah. He is supposed to be coming over this season. So what he takes in when he does, he's already won a chase. He's won it very easily. The runner-up's already won since as well.
Yeah, you wonder where the gold tweet, which is the horse you found, by the way, isn't it? Lots of people tweeting in, which we couldn't find the Cleve winner or whatever it was. I wonder if the French will now start to think to themselves, I don't know, it's happened on the flat, isn't it? They're winning everything. I wonder whether they might, because the programme obviously conflicts, doesn't it?
Yeah, I
We're
mean,
talking
most of
about
our
them,
money is rubbish, though, isn't it? I mean, that's the problem. So, you know,
but
they can-
nothing like winning a race.
they
at
can
the
run for
biggie, is there?
serious.
Well, they get sold, don't they, to William Mullins?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And Joe Chambers, the interview. If you missed that, go back and check it out. Joe's still going to get the checkbook out. They're still watching all these auto meetings at the minute. So lots of
They
chess
never-
pieces to move.
They're still quite sensible where they purchase horses, so they don't go chasing it out if, you know, they have a limit and they stick to it.
Okay, all right. Novice Chasers then. There we go. And get them in. Let's read them below. That's what we love to see. Right, we've got to move on to 5 to follow. 5 to follow. Which I thought would be a bit testing, Mr. Segal, but I then all of a sudden struggled to get my 6 down to 5.
You struggled to. I'm going to struggle to name 5.
I mean, unlike some of you, I've been prepping for this for a couple of weeks. But, Johnny, we asked you for 5 to follow. Can you remember off the top of your head while the rest of us scurry around and look at
My 5 are In the Pocket,
Yeah.
Down Memory Lane. Panda Boy is a horse I like for a big handicap. Martin
Interesting.
Brazel. Had a run there last week in Punchestown. I could see that going back for some like William Hill Chase. Doesn't stay much further than 3 mile. You know what I mean? It got cut out in the Irish National at the finish of like 3-5 or whatever that was. That's a bit too far for it. 3 mile. I can see like that being targeted. It'll be targeted at one race. It could even go for that Ladbroke Trophy or the Hennessy or something like that. But if it wins the Hennessy, it obviously is going to scupper its chances for the William Hill Chase. I could see the fact that they missed in the William Hill Chase this year by so little margin that they could go back with it. This is the horse for me. Is Panda Boy. He's only a young horse, 7 years of age. That's 3 of them. I like a horse of Gordon Elliott's, who I would consider Albert Bartlett. Firefox. He won a bumper in Naas, and then he won. Navan was beaten in
For the
Naas.
Morans. Morans?
Yeah, the Morans, yeah,
Morans,
that's
I'll
right.
never
yeah.
get that right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
certainly.
yeah. The Morans or Morans or whatever. That's the 4th one, and
Come on, you got to
the
remember
last
it.
one is Mirrors or West, without a doubt. That's one of my favourites.
Fernie Hollow's brother.
Whatever he is, but he's a really good horse. He's a really good horse.
He's a racy one.
So there's 3 McManus horses in that: Mirrors or West,
Yeah.
Down Memory Lane, and In the Pocket, and the other 2.
All right. Are you ready, Segal,
Yes.
for this? Go on.
Well, I'm ready as I'm going to be. I might not remember them. Jerry Colombe is my number 1.
Boom.
Horse to follow for the season. Corbett's Cross is number 2. I think he's a real top-notcher. Just I think Emmett Mullins can do anything.
Yeah.
Desert Moor House for Martin Brasler's a horse I was very interested in. He won the race at, where was it the other day?
Was it the Leinster National?
Leicester National, was it? Or-
No.
Desert Moor.
It was the one. It was the Harvest Festival.
No, he
Listowel.
won the Kerry National.
Kerry National.
Listowel,
Listowel. Listowel.
Should be a win and you're in.
I think Brazel afterwards say this horse never gets tired. He could go as far as you like. I think it's rated 145. He's then, I know it's 34 now, but he's only got to get up a few more pounds to get in the Nash.
Yeah.
He'd have a chance. Novices have won it before.
He's
Noble
a fascinating animal.
So how many have I said now? Is that 5?
That's nowhere near 5. I think that might be 3. 3
Gio
we're being here.
Vinco.
I'm telling you. Mission
Gio
Control say
Vinco.
3. Yes.
Who is the Lucinda Russell Novice Chaser we were talking about? I think he's going places. I definitely like him. And I'm really going to struggle now. The other one was... Come back to me. I'll get the fifth one when I remember.
One job.
That's
we gave
terrible,
him.
isn't it?
One job.
When you get to my age, Dave, you can't remember the kids' names, let alone 5 horses.
What year is it, Tom? Yeah. All right. Well, Tom.
Well, we've mentioned loads of them. I'm sticking largely with Novice Chasers because that's what I did for the big jump off pull out, which comes out on Monday.
Nice.
I mean, Ireland I love In the Pocket. I love Corbett's Cross. I do like Stay Away Faye. I mean, Paul Nicholls' record with horses that win or get placed at the Cheltenham Festival over hurdles and they go over fences is very good. And you just know he's going to be schooled. He's going to school brilliantly at home. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I will add Colonel Harry of the Snowdon because I think he's interesting. And there's a Henderson horse that I thought, the Carpenter, is it? Mr. Carpenter
Yes.
or the Carpenter? He's got a rating of about
For the owners
1-3.
group.
He's got a weighting of about 139. Henderson said he's the obvious one for a switch to fences, and I can just see him going straight into handicap company, being quite interested.
Nicky, we haven't really talked about Nicky's Novice Chasers because you alluded to the fact he was so light on top Novice Hurdlers last year. Your John Bonds are not easy to find this year. He's got Walking on Air that might go. He's got Jet Powered, who we're hoping sort of stays in one piece. Lots of his and Persian Time, they've got to step up.
They're miles behind the Irish.
They're miles behind.
They're miles
Yeah,
behind.
exactly.
No
So-
chance. I've remembered, by the way, Monbeg Genius.
Bosh.
Monbeg Genius, John Joe's horse.
Yeah, okay.
John Joe's horse.
For
is
the
I wanted to
Gold
put in
Trophy.
I wanted to put in Royal Pagani Sharjah.
But this is what I mean. You were worried about 5, and now you're giving me 8. All right, I'll give you mine
a
then.
couple of legends.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Look,
Listen, I've got a lot going on up here, Tom. I've got a lot going on there in
Oh,
my
it's
ears
all
and
right for
everything.
some, isn't
I've had
it?
to deal with guests, man. You're just sitting there. Right, okay. Down memory lane, bingo with John. Jerry Colombe, bingo with Tom. Bingo again with Tom for Gio Vinco. Watch that back at Perth. That is a monster. Gala Marceau, I'm going to put a mare in because I like following. I think you can get, if you were doing your stable tours and all that sort of thing now, and you're 5 to follow, 10 to follow, that would score you points to the mare's run. And I think the mare's rating is really hot at the moment now. You look down some of the names, there's some great rivalries coming back. I think she's good. I'm glad that Joe's not here, but I think she's going to have the run on Lottymouth this year. I think she stays a bit better. I loved her when she went to France. And I'll give you a name that a lot of you are buzzing about, an ex-French recruit for William Mullins called Gaucher. Another G, G-A-U-C-H-E-R. Watch him back. You can do that. Watch the French run. He's the son of Frankel. He's recording Racing Post ratings in the hundreds. He could be very, very good, the 4-year-old. He's a name that we're going to be seeing some point around November. There's my 5. What's your 5? Get them in below. Okay, best bet time then it is. And we're not all going Cheltenham, but you mentioned good thing on the show earlier. For people that haven't seen that clip, it was
In the Pocket at 8-1 for the Turners, but as regards having a bet, if I was to pick one, what I would say, which is a decent price at the moment anyway, is Facile Vega at 5-1 for the Arkle, because there's less can come into the Arkle rather than the Turners. If you know what I'm saying, like there is more depth in the Arkle or in the Turners than in the there's maybe 3 runners in maybe 2.5 runners in the Arkle as far as I can see, maybe even 2, and they're the big 2 from last year. Like I think 5-1 in a race where there's nothing going to come from out of the woodwork. Whereas 8-1, I do fancy that horse in the Pocket, but you could have little stuff come in there that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, all right. So apart from the unknown quantities, what price in the pocket for the Turners with Bet365, Pat?
Yeah, we're currently 10-1, and I do agree with Johnny. What if he's very fast and they throw the hat into the ring for the Arkle? So there's all those sort of things to consider. But as things stand, he's 10-1 for the Turners, and I see wisdom in putting that one up as a selection.
Let's stay with you, Pat, for your best bet, please, of the 2023-24 jump season.
Well, having looked at the entire Cheltenham ante-post races, I kept coming back to one conclusion, and that was there's no way John Bond should be 7-1 each way the first three for the champion chase. I'm going to take him to win the Tingle Creek, win his prep race, turn up at Cheltenham Festival with a string of ones by his name, and maybe win that one as well.
Love it. Thanks, Pat. A lot of nodding going on there. Tom Segal.
Yeah, well, I'll go away from Cheltenham. I love the former Hennessy, the Coral Gold Cup Gold Trophy now. I think that's used to be my favourite race, probably still is my favourite race. I think Monbeg Genius for John Joe. I think he was around 20-1. I think he's got a great chance.
Superb. And that's in the big jump off, of course, you're mentioning that. Keels?
Yeah, shorter price, but I am not waiting till Cheltenham. I'm not 5 months, so I think you're all bonkers actually trying to back horses then. You're even more bonkers.
2000.
I had a full head of hair the last time I backed the winner of the Grand National. I am going to go for Protectorat in the Betfair Chase, repeated last year. It's a race that has dual winners pretty much non-stop. I believe Jerry Colomb goes over there when he does, and in that case he'll end up favourite.
How big's your garden?
My garden?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you want to get on to Jeb Mason, because I think that horse should retire at yours, Keels. And loads of viewers will be out there going, he's gone for Protectorat again.
Oh, it's his Gold Cup, isn't it?
All right, okay.
And the ground will be bottomless, soon down to the ground.
I was tempted to go Shishkin King George. I think he's going to win it. I think he'll turn up. I think he'll turn up at Ascot, and I think he'll win it. I think he'll go on and win it. I think he'll see off Brave Man's Game.
Can you
imagine? He's classy horse in Brave Man's Game.
Can you imagine him jumping alongside Brave Man's Game all the way round?
He loves Kempton. What are you on about?
He'll get length.
We are going to see a peak Shishkin this year, but that's not that. That's the next best. There you go.
Get length
I'm creating
by
bets.
Brave Man's Game, you madman.
I sometimes you get a feeling about things, and he's a freak of a horse. This. And I just think now the National as it is, if Tiger Roll can win as many Grand Nationals as he did by skipping through the fences, and Corrick Rambler can come from out the back of the telly and win a Grand National, I think Kitty's Light's going to win the Grand National. I really, really do. I think he'll run in the Coral Gold Trophy. I think he'll run okay. Christian's going to have to train him slightly differently now, of course, because he's
got to keep his handicap mark up for a
he's
start.
got to make sure it's up. Christian, if you're listening, and he's got a lot of good horses for the spring, and I think, is he 25-1, Pat, for the Nash?
And he's a very popular horse. He's one of those that on the day he'll be a lot less, I should imagine, but he's still got to get there. But yep, 25.
Any horse that come in an Ida and a Bet 365 and a Scottish National in the same season, not in that order, is an absolute legend, and we wish them well with that. They are the best bets. What are yours? Again, get them below. Right, well, unbelievably, that's all we've got time for on this year's big jump off. Of course, it is out tomorrow. If you're watching on Sunday, Tom Bart, Andrew Pennington done an unbelievable job. Look out for some new features. They're even doing rankings. Graham Rope's had an absolute touch. He's not doing his power rankings anymore. They've taken it off him, and he's doing algorithms now. And if you're into like swapping cars, like baseball cards, football cards, a lot of the young ones do these FIFA cards, don't they? Tom Part's come up with this idea of ranking trainers and jockeys and horses, and do not miss it. It looks absolutely outstanding. And I think if we're going to get a young audience into racing,
trainer, jockey, horse, top trumps.
There you go. It's already got Keels' input. And that'll be about the only time he watches it, I would imagine. But
We're going to do trainers. We're going to do girth size.
Steady. Seagull lowering the tone at the end. Listen, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit here. John, thanks for coming over from Ireland.
Thanks for inviting me. Really enjoyed it.
We're really looking forward to Up in the Ante. Now, the boys in the studio, I asked you at the top of the show when the first show was. Hopefully, your calendar is better at remembering than you are, because it's a week before you said, I think, John.
Is it?
So I think so. I think it is,
thought it
John.
was the 14th, no?
It's
the
the
7th. All right,
yeah, we're
okay.
hearing it's the 7th, so
sorry.
he'll be there now, at least.
Soon.
It is actually, yeah, it is, yeah, it is.
It is. It's one of the best shows out there, John. We absolutely love it. 365 love it, obviously. You might occasionally have Pat on as well. Pat, it's been great to have you, albeit you're stuck somewhere in the office somewhere.
Yeah, as I say, I feel like I'm in Stockley Park in control of the VAR machine, but it's been great to meet up with all the fellas, and looking forward to a terrific season ahead.
The legend that is Pat Cooney. doing like a Bruce Lee film there, wasn't he? A little bit with them. Worse than the exchange he's out, isn't he? And the legend that is Paul Kealy. Now you're into the jumps, right?
I'm always likely to get into the jumps. I get into it straight away. It's just a bit of a shock to the system, going on holiday and then coming back from crikey. I've got to look at all these jumps.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Well, listen, you're going to see plenty of Kills, plenty of Tom, and plenty of Johnny, and hopefully me throughout the winter as well. Like, comment, subscribe, and share from us all at the Racing Post. Happy jumping.